My name is Sharad Agarwal. I'm based in Dubai. I run a digital agency called Cyber Gear, which has been operative for 28 years plus. I'm basically a Web 1 guy, meandering into Web 3. So it's been a very exciting journey. Only Webinars is my passion project, a platform we started when COVID happened. And over the years, we've done 70 plus webinars, and we have a community of 18,000 strong, global community from 5 continents. And we are happy to welcome you. Please use the chat to communicate with our speakers and panelists. And if you were here yesterday as well, give us a thumbs up or say yes, because we'd love to have people back with us today. Yeah, I see a few yeses already. Thank you. Yeah, so let's get started. And I have with me the usual suspects: Susan Furness, John Scott Turco, Andrea. Susan is based in Ras Al Khaimah, UAE, my colleague for 28 plus years. John Scott, my good friend, based in New York. We've done a lot of webinars in the past. Andrea is relatively a newbie in the MetaShapers community, but rock solid person we rely on for hosting summits like this. Without this illustrious team, these summits would just not be possible. So I want to express my gratitude to the 3 of you. And of course, to all the MetaShapers for their support in helping us with the presentations. Their energy, their enthusiasm gives us energy to carry on. And for the first time in this summit, we also invited guests from the ecosystem who are not necessarily MetaShapers. And I want to thank each one of them as well for participating over these 2 days. So let's get started by talking a little about yesterday. What a day we had, right? Almost 4 hours of non-stop content that came to us from all parts of the world. And my head went for a spin. I don't know about you, John Scott. Where are you now? Are you all charged and ready to?
Yeah, I'm all charged. It was a lot of information yesterday. Some really, just when I think it can't be blown anymore, my mind is blown again. So I appreciate the opportunity, starting with Annalise, Rohit, everybody who presented yesterday, talking about the opportunities, redefining terms and experiences that we have come to see as consistent are being totally disrupted, and the opportunities are enormous. What do you think, Susan?
Susan, can you
Well, here on all of that, and particularly redefining terms. I hope you can hear me okay. I feel I'm lagging a little bit. But yeah, there was lots of new vocabulary, or if you like, endorsement of new vocabulary, and including some suggestions like from Reg Arthwell about taking these small significant steps that we could call quantum leaps, because indeed a quantum leap isn't a big next step. It's those small significant steps to your magnificence. And also Nova Lorraine, giving us a thought that actually thought leaders are thought provokers. So yes, John Scott, I was really provoked. What about you, Sharad?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things stood out for me. I loved Rohit Talwar's sense of the future. I mean, it's exciting yet scary, right? Because what Elon Musk is doing is kind of bothering me quite a bit. So I keep going back to his implanting a chip in the brain. Even if it makes me smarter, I mean, I'm scared in terms of the memory downloads that might be possible. And imagine if uploads also happen to the brain. I mean, we are finding it tough to assimilate all the information in today's day and age. So if it goes to the power X, because Elon Musk only deals in X's, there'll be an overload. So I think we have to keep a very close eye on how technology comes at us. And sometimes, as we discussed yesterday several times, it's okay not to know stuff, right? And I don't think it's necessary for us to know everything about everything. What do you say, John Scott, about that?
Yeah, I want to give Andrea a chance to give her thoughts. Like, what do you think, Andrea? You've been backstage, all over in Singapore there. What do you see?
It was amazing and too much information to process in such a short time. So I'm definitely will be rewatching the session, and I think the audience will do the same. And for me, I was most focused on the people coming into the room, and I was fascinated by the different comments and the creativity that, for example, Pedro was mentioning about imagine learning in a different story-based environment where you can make it really interactive and it can be the new thing for education. And a lot of amazing comments were coming up. So I'm hoping that today the audience will be also very active, and we are really, really looking forward for your insights, because these people in the room, they're living this, and you are the one experiencing it, and we are missing kind of the connection. So would love to hear your insights throughout the night about everything what we are talking about. So looking forward.
I think we are, thanks for that, Andrea. Well said. I think we should get started, because, you know, if we thought yesterday was super, today is going to be hyper super, if there's such a word. We have a lot of heavyweights today. I mean, there's going to be Roberto Croci, who will be flagging off the race today, followed by Dr. Christina, who's going to come through a recorded session, and then so many more to follow. So I'm pleased to welcome Roberto Croci to get us started. He's based in Dubai and Riyadh, and a global citizen. He's today coming in from Miami, I'm told. And Roberto, what can I say about you? You're very famous already. Roberto and I have known each other personally for quite a while. We were also colleagues at a certain point of time, limited amount of time though, and I got to know Roberto really well. So I'm happy to call you my friend, Roberto, and pleased to welcome you today. You are the founder of Constructive Rebels. It's a consulting firm that you operate very successfully, and you wear several hats. Thank you for joining in all the way from Miami. Next 20 minutes are yours. Take it away, please.
Awesome, Sharad. Thank you so much for first of all for inviting me. It's an honor, a pleasure, and thank you so much everyone else involved in the team, Susan, John Scott, Andrea, and everybody else. So thank you for having me. So I would say good evening, everybody. Good morning from here, from Miami. I'm Roberto Croci. I'm your guide today on a journey through what we can say is the fascinating world of funding in the worlds of Web3 and artificial intelligence. My background has been in tech companies for a long time, and now working at PIF. I'm also the founder of Constructive Rebels, which is a consultancy where we're helping across government and corporate organization to look into innovation and transformation projects. So my adventure in the tech ecosystem has spanned over a decade or more now, and it's great, to deep dive into the startup scene and the funding scene when it comes to emerging tech like Web3 and AI. But I think this evening or today, we are not just talking about investment. I think we are more delving into the future, where technologies like blockchain meets brain power, right? So where funding is not just the fuel, but the foundation for revolutions that are yet to be unfold. And our narrative is one of opportunity, of untapped potential. I think it's about paving the way for technologies that promise to redefine our tomorrow. And what really excites me is the potential to empower the next wave of tech pioneers. So we are embarking on a sort of a short path for 20 minutes onto the essence of Web3 and AI. These are technologies that stand at the beginning of changing everything we know about digital interactions, business, and probably even beyond that, right? So looking forward to explore this with you, and to get this started. When we talk about Web3 and AI, right? So I think we stand on the brink of a new digital dawn. It's crucial for me to grasp the essence of what are the forces that are driving this change. If we look at Web3 is, in its simplest form, represents the next revolutionary phase of the internet, right? So we are talking about being decentralized, open, more secure, powered by blockchain. So it's a lot about taking the power from central authorities and giving it back to the users. And if we talk about AI is all about bridging to making machines think, learn, adapt. It's transforming data into decisions, simplifying complexities, it's personalizing experiences, right? So at a scale that is unprecedented. So in my journey through different, some of the big tech companies, right? So, and also the venture capital landscape, I've seen these technologies, honestly, not just as tools, but more as catalysts of change. Because they really hold the promise to revolutionize industries, redefine how we interact with the digital world, maybe redesigning the user experiences, but more importantly, solve real world problems in ways that we've just begun to imagine. If you take, for example, the blockchain's potential to revolutionize supply chain, transparency as an example, right? So it makes possible to trace the journey of a product from its origin to the consumer. This is fascinating, right? So because even in the food industry, if you take this as an example, supply chain transparency is critical to ensuring safety, quality, origin of products. And this is where Web3 and AI can play transformative roles. Think about blockchain technology can offer an immutable ledger for recording transactions in the supply chain. Each step of the product journey from farm to table is recorded on the blockchain, creating transparent and a tamper-proof record, right? So companies like IBM and the likes have they've used blockchain to track and trace the origin of food products. And this allows all the parties in the supply chain, for example, including farmers, processors, distributors, retailers, consumers, to access reliable information about the origin, handling, quality of food. And this is very important for food safety issue. Think about some outbreaks that can happen, and retailers can quickly trace the contaminated product, right? So back to the source, enabling a swift recall of those products. And this is not only enhancing consumer trust, but also reduce the economic losses that are associated with food recalls. And combine this with artificial intelligence that can analyze vast amounts of data generated across the supply chain and predict potential disruptions, optimize the logistics, ensure product quality. So this has to do, for example, with combining data, right? So across different sources, whether it's weather, social media, historical data, and predict potential disruptions to the supply chain. Could be crop failures or increases in demand. And this for food companies is a gold mine, right? So because they can optimize inventory levels, they can predict future trends, and there is also an economic and value impact that is created out of these technologies, right? So, and this is just an example. You can think about other domains. Think about healthcare, for example. I've seen a lot of usage of these technologies to predictive analytics to provide early diagnosis or personalized treatment plans. A lot of applications in the longevity, more on the side of quality of life. And DeepMind, for example, we will talk about DeepMind later. They have a system to detect acute kidney injury, right? So which shows how AI can predict this condition up to 48 hours before it occurs. So this is significantly improving the patient outcomes. And these are just examples of the journey of innovation that Web3 and AI can enable for all of us. And the path to funding and fostering these technologies requires a vision that is seeing beyond the horizon, right? So is a deep understanding of the market and probably also courage to bet on the future. So steering investments, if we talk about funding today, steering investments into ventures that are at the forefront of this innovation is a role that demands not just the understanding of the technology per se, and I'm sure there have been yesterday and today probably more sessions to deep dive into what these technologies can do, but probably it starts with a belief on the potential that these technologies have to create a better future. So if you ask me why we should be focusing on Web3 and AI funding, I think it's because they're not just the future of technology, to be honest, but they're the future of how we solve problems. I look at these technologies as the future of how we create value. And we envision a world that is probably more connected, more intelligent, hopefully, and more probably human-centric. So some of the market dynamics, right? So if we look at the market dynamics as we navigate the current of innovation, I think it's important, right? So to understand that. If we dissect the investments flow into these sectors, the past few years, we've been witnessing a remarkable surge in venture capital flowing into AI, blockchain startups. It's just not grown, but probably multiplied if you see the numbers or some of the charts that I took here, right? So you see exponential growth in funding, and this is a testament to the faith that investors are placing into this transformative potential of the technologies. Think about the OpenAI, for example, just to take one of probably of the most spoken or trendy examples, right? So these days, they started as a research lab, and now they've become a pivotal force in the AI, in the whole AI landscape, right? So they're attracting significant investment from giants like Microsoft. And this is not just investments, it's really a belief in the future of how this technology can be embedded to solve real problems. Same thing on the blockchain space. If you've seen even institutions like it being traditional on finance, like JP Morgan, if they've been embracing blockchain for example, for cross-border payments, right? So which is a significant shift in perspective from tradition, even from more traditional players. So if we look at all of this, what these numbers, what these trends tell us is there is a shift in the investment paradigm, right? So we are not funding technology for technology's sake, but probably there is more consciousness on investing in the promise of a decentralized, efficient, and more equitable future. And that's the paradigm shift that probably we have seen in the investment side. And of course, if we look also into the diversification of economies, coming from a part of the world where there is a lot of that, the focus has been on not just identifying, but also nurturing the seeds of future technologies and imagining a world where transactions become transparent, for example, where AI-driven insights can predict market trends. We can enhance consumer experiences, right? So I would say the question for us as investors is not if we could or if we should engage with this technology, but how we can lead their adoption. That's the key question, how we can lead their adoption to shape a future that aligns with our collective aspirations, right? So if we now delve into how we can identify, right? So from an investment perspective, how we identify opportunities, navigating this future, understanding more of the Web3 and AI, I think this just not require vision, but also more precision, right? So how we can really spot what opportunities make sense and find funding, in this innovation. So I think, again, I probably told you in the previous slide, commenting the fact that we are not looking at technology for the sake of technology. It's more about solving real problems. And if you take Ethereum, for example, as another example, its introduction of smart contracts revolutionized the blockchain, far beyond mere transactions to applications that we're still exploring, right? So I think one of the key that we are looking from an investment perspective is the scalability of the ideas of scalability of the business models that come through, right? So in the pipeline, the deal flow. So an idea, no matter how brilliant, we believe that must have the legs to run across markets, even cultures and economies, right? So consider platforms like, again, we mentioned DeepMind before. Consider like something like how DeepMind have been able to scale from mastering games. They even got into predicting protein structures and stuff like that, impacting healthcare and a lot of that. So the potential that they have been able to scale and develop across different sectors. So that's the scalability of and the repeatability of the business model. And then finally, I would say the other key component is the team, the people. Right, so we're talking about visionaries here that are embracing emerging technologies. We're talking about doers. We're talking about thinkers. So behind every successful startup, right, so is the people behind it, have a dream, but also execute relentlessly, right? So we will talk later about Chainlink, for example, as one of the examples in the Web3 ecosystem. So think about their founders, how they navigated the complex landscape of decentralized finance and came with smart contracts idea that are securely interact with real world data, right? And how relentlessly they executed that vision that they had in the very first place. So these three pillars, I think, innovation, scalability, and team are the bedrock of investment decision, right? So and here for me, innovation means more, is solving real problems, having a solid business model with solid unit economics. And team means people that are quality, right? So means quality means commitment to solve that problem and to stick into that problem, to the roots, and try to solve it, whatever it takes. So this approach, I think it's from an investment perspective, is I think what are the key elements that investors look into especially when we are facing the early stage ventures and early stage founders, right? That they're facing into the Web3 and AI scene. And my message to these founders would be, let us be bold, but also let us be visionary in identifying opportunities that will shape our collective future. And let's see how this emerging tech can pave the way for that future. And as we navigated this, balance between innovation and investment, I think the way founders approach investors is usually through the pitch deck, right? So, and I think it's important to see what should be in a pitch deck. And I think the first thing that usually needs to be tackled in a pitch deck is the problem. It's starting with the why. Why does this problem really matter? And in my experience, most pitch decks are full of assumptions on the problem, But the reality is most of them either scratch the surface or sometimes limit it to the symptoms and not really go deep into the problem space, or even worse, they're really not addressing even a real problem, right? So for which there is no real market, right? So, and that's probably the reason why most of the startups in the early stage still fail. So there is a lot of given for granted, right? So in a lot of the pitches. So I think sticking to the problem space and making sure to tap and to tackle the real problem is key. Then of course you jump into the solution space, right? So where you pave the way for the solution. How does your technology or platforms address the problem? But probably the advice here is how that your solution is unique, how your solution effectively address that problem, right? So again, we mentioned Ethereum, how Ethereum transformed how we perceive blockchain's capabilities beyond Bitcoin, introducing smart contracts as a revolutionary solution, right? So for example, but really to the point of where you stand out. And then you delve into the market opportunity, right? So, and here usually it's, usually you see a lot of that pitch decks where, at 1%, it's always, even a 1% of the total addressable market turns into billions of dollars. And then you don't realize in the real world how, it's difficult to capture even a 0.x% of what you're putting in that slide, right? So the execution of it is really key. So definitely it's important to, show that, you've done the homework, right? So, and you got into a proper assessment of the market opportunity, especially in the early stages, but it's more also ensuring that you can show that there is a roadmap and an execution to that. And finally, we mentioned before the team. The team, I think, is key in the pitch deck, is showing who is behind the venture, right? So is the passion that you have for what you're trying to solve for is about your story. Ultimately, it's about who you are and why you are into it to solve this problem, what really bothers you, why you're hungry, why you're committed, how you see things in perspective, how you can really ensure and give the confidence that you can drive this execution, right? So that people can follow you, that you get things done. So this is in my journey. So this is what I've seen in countless speeches, right? So I think these are the things that mostly stand out. And my advice is thinking the pitch more than a presentation. Actually, it's not a presentation, it's your story. Is the story of the challenge, is the story of your innovation, is the story that would invite me as an investor on a journey with you. So it's not about even a presentation one way, right? So it should be a partnership. So and the pitch deck should anchor that partnership. And actually, my real advice here is you shouldn't be feeling as someone seeking only money, but you should let the money chase you and seek you, right? So, and that should come out of your deck and your story. And here I've received that when we posted the attendance today, I received some questions already on LinkedIn, right? So there was a question about when to reveal, the dollar, the money, right? So whether you should be revealed in the pitch deck in the start, in the middle, or at the end. I think it's an excellent question. So I think the placement of financial details in your pitch deck should is a significant impact on the narrative flow for sure, and on the investor engagement. So it should be clear your ask to the investors for sure. But I would recommend introducing the financials towards the middle of the presentation. It's not the first thing you ask, it's not what you leave probably the investor with, because it is how you make people feel, right? So this is what they will remember. But probably when you start setting the stage with the problem and the solution, as we said, in the market opportunity, once you have captured your audience interest and demonstrated the value proposition, then you can get into the financials, right? So you be very clear on the ask, because the investors will be fully informed about the potential impact and the scalability of your solution. And then it's a good time to introduce the numbers and translate the how and the why also. What are the numbers that the investors need to know? So this was one of the questions that I received. So at the end of the day, my advice is crafting pitches that don't just inform but inspire people to follow your lead, your vision, and the problem that you really want to solve. And don't just ask for investment, but command it. And again, let the money chase you because of what the problem that you're trying to solve, and you get people along with you. And I also wanted to comment quickly on the data side that is behind all of this, because there is, the power of data to transform our approach to investment can be really unique, right? So data can be the compass that we use in an uncharted territory, like could be the one of emerging technologies like Web3 and AI. So if we consider the landscape of blockchain, So transaction data doesn't just track digital currency exchanges. It reveals patterns of adoptions, areas of high demand, opportunities for disruption, right? So, and the same with AI. User feedback is a goldmine for improvement, for innovation. Every single interaction, every data point is a lesson in user needs, preferences, behaviors, right? So this feedback loop is important. And this translates also into financial projections, right? So while you ground it in current data, you can sketch a vision of the future that is more predictable, right? So it's more backed by data. So you can see lots of pitches that we focus on past performance. And my advice would be, that's great, it's a starting point, but it should also be forward-looking, right? So you should capture somehow the benchmarks, the key value drivers, and the predictions of what's a forward-looking forecast of this data could be, and how you could sort of anticipate or redesign experiences based on that. So the key message that I wanted to share here is that you should embrace data with open arms. You should let data challenge your assumptions, and probably you should build, when you build your venture, and what investors want to see is that you have built an environment where you have a culture of experimentation, because you might need to be ready to pivot during the journey, right? So you might refine your strategy, and this should guide your pitch and your story, the story you tell. So data not just as a resource, but your most trusted advisor probably in the journey to innovation. And another important concept I wanted to share here is not just data for the sake of data, but also what are the real use cases that these emerging technologies like Web3 or AI can really enable, but also add value to. I recently, had a very interesting chat, a very, very interesting use case, and I will share this because I think makes it more tangible and more real, is an example of Web3 applied to revenue management in the hospitality domain. Right. So if you think about from a hotel owner perspective, what the goals of a hotel owner are is selling your room for as much as they can, and develop new channels to sell your room. Right. So it's more a product focused approach, right? So to provide you an experience where that's the goal. So it's another sales channel. It can help bring your customer closer. It provides more options, choices to the customers. This is the way hotel owners would look at these new technologies, right? So, but the real upside for hotel from a real business perspective, and we start talking about creating value, is what about increasing the percentage of non-refundable bookings with guaranteed revenues in an efficient and cost-effective way? So if some of these technologies can enable a hotel owner to do that, wouldn't that be more valuable for them? And probably, and the answer is yes, right? Because if you see online bookings today, what they made is they made hotel rooms more a commodity, right? So when you go online and you check, the options, you see the same pictures of the bed, the furniture online, and the decision is primarily based on cost, on price. Whereas Web3 here can change the game, because it can bring a specific experience, but also if you sell a night through Web3 technology, users can swap or trade, with other customers with no involvement from the hotel. And if anything changes in their journey or decision, this still adds flexibility to the travel, which definitely was not possible before Web3, right? So actually, this could apply also beyond just hotels, could apply to the entire entertainment industry. If you think about tickets, events, bookings, whatever, right? So customers can now travel at discount, because usually non-refundable rates are cheaper. They have the flexibility if their travel plans change. Plus, hotels can have a more predictable stream of revenues, plus higher margins, because they would save the cost of cleaning rooms. They would have kept empty, right? So here you see, I'm just mentioning this as an example where we talk about tech and we go deep into the push of emerging tech. But why don't we start somehow from the business value that today, not in the future, some of these technologies can create? And this is where, as an investor, I would want to see, wow, this is replicable, right? So this example in hospitality is something that if we can repeat at scale, it can redefine the entire way hotels seek more ownership of the relationship with customers, right? So which today is probably traded by the online travel agencies, the Booking and Expedia of the world. And there is this hate and love relationship with the OTAs and the customers, where, hotels now can, with Web3, can have transparency in the whole process, can cut out the middleman. And there is a whole question here on how will brand loyalty become stronger or weaker, right? So with Web3 for hospitality, as an example, to start with, and we could apply all of this thinking, this mindset, to many other industries, right? So in short, I think if we continue to explore the potential of Web3 and AI, I would say let's commit to a data-driven decision-making, right? So it's something that can guide us through complexities of innovation, ensure that investments and our visions are not just hopeful, but really grounded in reality. And it always starts from business value, right? So because I need to put money on it, I need to see the return of these assets, the return of these investments. I want to maximize those returns, and I want to have confidence that that can happen relatively soon, right? So that's from an investor perspective. But we talk about, when we talk about the path to secure funding, I would say let's not sugarcoat it, right? So the road is tough, it's filled with hurdles, and there are also some challenges, right? So a few challenges that I would definitely mention. One is the regulatory scrutiny that is quite intense, especially when it comes to specific domains where Web3 and AI can be applied, right? So we know as AI advances, we have regulators, especially when we talk about data privacy, ethical use of AI, which is probably we will touch base in many other sessions during the conference, algorithmic bias, the bias, unconscious bias, or the conscious bias that is sometimes into a lot of these solutions, right? So as a founders, my advice would be stay ahead of potential regulations that could impact AI technologies. How these technologies are developed and deployed is also important. So the regulatory landscape is key, and also on the Web3 side probably is the same sort of concept, right? So if we think about how to regulate blockchain cryptocurrencies, we're not touching more into crypto, but even if we say in the blockchain, right? So there is still a lot of uncertainty, and there are differences across countries. So if you think in global or if you think in scale, sometimes it makes a process, right? So to navigate through the regulatory domain. A second point I would mention here is the technical complexity, right? So it could be a double-edged sword, actually. So on one hand, it's your unique selling point. You're on top of something that is about to disrupt, to change, to redefine, to redesign. So you're doing something that you are ahead of the curve. But on the other hand, it can be a significant barrier to secure funding, again, from an investor perspective. So usually investors might shy away from what they don't really fully understand, right? So, and let's be frank, Web3 and AI are not simple concepts, and the way a lot of founders pitch or present, it doesn't help, right? So I think there should be a lot of effort into translating that tech into a language that resonates with investors, stripping away all the jargon, right? So that should be focused on the value. As the example I put on the hospitality and Web3 is very anchored on the business value you can create, and everybody could understand that. And in fact, the other point I would mention here is market education, right? So it's not about just selling a product or a service. Often you have to educate investors on the very market you're trying to disrupt, right? So because we're talking about something that most of the times is at the edge or at the frontier and exploring uncharted territories, right? So there is a lot of storytelling and persuasion that needs to go into it, going back to the point on the pitch deck that we mentioned before. So I think founders, you might find an effective way to communicate the value proposition of the project that you're working on without getting lost into too many technical details, which is not what investors are probably primarily looking for, right? So it's about simplifying and acknowledging that it's a crowded marketplace, and that's a good sign for investors. But you need to find a way to differentiate, right? So and have a unique value proposition that is clearly communicated. Plus, back to the point I made before about proof of concept and scalability. So many of the Web3 projects or AI projects are usually in experimental or developmental stage. So it makes it difficult, right? So for founders to provide a solid proof of concept most of the times and demonstrate scalability to investors. So I would say whether you take the Web3 or AI route, so they require significant data to train the models, demonstrate efficacy. So it requires also a conversation on how you find and retain the right talent to sustain all of that. And I would say these are the main challenges that I would say facing these challenges head on requires a lot of resilience, deep understanding of your technology, but also the market, and the ability to communicate this vision, as we said again, to the investors in a very simple way. So
come in for a second. Your time is almost up.
Yes, I'm then wrapping up. So
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, I hear. Okay, perfect. So I'm wrapping up. I have 2 slides remaining. One, I wanted to just name a few examples, right? So because we talked about some of the challenges, but some of the success stories. One, I've mentioned Chainlink before multiple times on the Web3 world, right? So they have facilitated the growth of blockchain ecosystem, attracted significant investment. So this is a great example. In the realm of AI, we talked a lot about OpenAI. We talked about DeepMind before, right? So the all the work that they did to push the boundaries of AI from tracking complex challenges, protein folding, reduce energy consumption, data centers, and all that stuff. So these stories are here to show that, you know, there is significant strategic investments that is poured into these domains, and your journey has the potential to redefine industries and transform lives. And the final slide is about more the future of funding, right? So I think that the journey ahead is ripe with potential, and future of funding in this sector is a critical piece of the puzzle. I think just a few points highlight here to close is we will see a lot about decentralized finance, you know, to democratize more finance and to empower more innovators, right? So to diversify and to invest more into these new technologies. Of course, AI, I think, will become more indispensable, also an indispensable tool for investors, right? To predict insights that probably previously was very difficult to get. Also in terms of which ventures, which startups, where to put the funding, right? And tokenization as well probably will emerge as a game changer to make investment opportunities more accessible and more liquid, and opening new avenues for funding innovation. So these were some of the last comments that I wanted to make. So the last point then is just a thank you note. So thank you for Sharad and the team for inviting me. I think we are just at the beginning. The future of Web3 and AI is not written in stone, right? So it's being written by you guys, by the people that are attending today, by the innovators, the thinkers, the visionaries of believe in a future that demands creativity, courage, commitment to transform the fabric of our digital world. So I would encourage you know, to keep this conversation open. You can find my contacts here, and if you're interested, of course, happy to follow up the conversation after the session and after the whole conference. So and finally, again, a message of gratitude to Sharad, Susan, and the whole team, Andrea and the whole team, John Scott, to put together such great initiatives that open up conversations that are really important to have. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Roberto. I can clearly see the passion. You talked about founders having passion. I think passion is Web 2, obsession is Web 3. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll shift gears now. We are going to go to Dr. Christina Zhang, who is based in UK, and she runs the Metaverse Institute. Today, however, she is between flights. So she was very kind to send us a recording of her presentation. I'm going to request Andrea to play her presentation now, please. Andrea, we can't hear the audio.
One minute, I'm
Okay.
sharing.
Yeah, just try one more time.
It's the same thing again with
Okay, then let's go to Dr. Martha. If she is ready with her presentation, let's switch gears. And Dr. Martha can go ahead with her presentation. And Martha, of course, is one of the first meta shapers to join our community. And she's based in Switzerland, has a lot of experience in Web3, Metaverse, and NFTs. She clearly has a very interesting presentation to share with us. And I'm going to invite Dr. Martha next to please share the screen with us. And yeah, over to you, Martha.
Yeah, can you do me a favor? It says start video is enabled by host. So you can't see me, but that's not me. I cannot start my video now. So now you can see me. So wonderful being here with you today. And thanks, Roberto, for this beautiful presentation. So it's a shame we missed Christina with her presentation, but I'm sure we will find a way to make this available. So I'm here today, give me a second, to talk about maybe also a lot of questions we have and not only answers, and how we can solve, I would call the big transcendence. So give me a second to just start. I called my journey, to which I would like to invite you to today, Beyond Boundaries, Exploring the Nexus of AI and Our Whole Human Transcendence. So this is me in reality, and this is also my digital self. We are all going through this transcendence right now because we are all seeing that we are developing and extending ourselves. So according to neuroscience, if we extend ourselves to a digital avatar or to a digital twin, it's still us. We feel it's still us. And everyone who has been in the metaverse or also has been acting as an avatar or a digital twin knows how they feel when they are in that space. So it doesn't really matter if we are physically here. It has the same feeling if we extend it. So I would like to refer you to Lao Tzu, whom I admire, and I've read a lot about it. And one of his pieces comes from the awakening. If you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. And if you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that your own self-transformation. So let's take us and let's go through this transformation. Myself, I went through the transformation from coming from financial services and doing a lot of innovation at big companies like US. And I developed my passion, and you said my obsession almost, into different fields. So a year ago, I founded the Metaverse, a mindful place for collaboration. Then last year, and I want to show it to you today again, it's Femitopia. It's the place where also we connect and collaborate. And a lot of the roles we're playing here have to do with what's the role of humanity, what's the role of AI. Last year, I've been also nominated United Nations Peace Ambassador because of my work in humanity and technology. This is one of the important parts which we have to understand. And now I'm also creating something new with my nephew. It's called Creator, and this will come out soon. So stay tuned for that next venture of mine. But why does it matter? Why I'm on this journey, and why I would like to invite you onto this journey of awakening, as Lao Tzu rightly calls it. We are all facing unprecedented challenges. Our population is changing so fast. We are now in 2050 looking at close to 9.7 billion people. We also have still a lot of developed countries. We have the developed countries who are developing very fast in terms of population, but not in terms of what they are able to do and what kind of access they have. We also have huge age differences. We're all getting older, yes, but we have less support when we are older. So there will be more than 1.6 billion people aged 65 plus years and 3.2 million aged 100 and plus. So we also have more centurions, as we call them, and they're all mostly living in the blue zones. And there are some ways how these centurions are living or why they are living so long. And there are different ways. We also have urgent global health challenges. So we have been preparing for epidemics. We have seen that the last couple of years. We also have a lot of mental health crises, as some of you might also suffer from. We have millions and millions of people who have mental health challenges. And on the same side, we have technology, we're expanding the medicine, but we have globally not really connected all those dots which are here on this chart. And how can we do this? So one way, obviously, how do we balance our weaknesses, and how do we cope with the challenges of overpopulation, with the challenges of access? So years ago, this was a very scary picture of someone who's the first cyborg, I would say, Neil here. Why did he have his antenna? Maybe some forgot. He has this antenna because he couldn't see colors of his blind color. So what he has done, he has this antenna and his voice to hear translation of colors into hearing. This sounds very old-fashioned, or maybe not, but these are one of the first cyborgs. We also have humanoid robots coming up, and those are helping us. Those are helping in situations where not only in factories, but with elderly care and others. Certainly, we are frightened. Certainly, we don't know. But let's also look at Sophia, what she is up to.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sophia from Hanson Robotics.
Can you hear?
Meet
I wasn't
Sophia.
sure if I...
You may have seen her around. She's one of the most well-known robots out there. She's a globe-trotting fashionista, gracing the covers of Cosmopolitan India and Brazilian Elle. She addresses the United Nations. I am thrilled and honored to be here. Hangs out with the likes of Will Smith.
You're just so easy to talk to. You know, you got a clear head, literally.
Duets with Jimmy Fallon on the
So
Tonight Show.
remember this, what Will
Literally.
Smith is saying. You're so easy to talk with. You are like feeling like human, even though she doesn't look like it. So if we go to the next reiteration, how she might look, that's the creation of myself, how I imagine Sophia could look. She could look very human, and we see more of this. So if we look at the capabilities, we have Boston Dynamics, but we also have Tesla. What these robots can do right now, already only a couple of weeks ago, is amazing. You see the reaction and how they move is quite quickly. We even have robots now who can do kind of weaving. So it's quite amazing. So let me just see that. I go to the next one. This is a very nice statistic as well, which is only a couple of weeks ago old. So I took this from ARC Innovation, a company who heavily invests in innovation, ARC Investment. Big Ideas 2024 is a great report I recommend you to read. Many companies are likely to deploy more robots than human, and we see this already with employees going down in Amazon in particular, but also in all other companies. And we have to think about, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for society? Elon Musk, who is obviously behind Optimus, which I've just shown, he estimates we will have 1 billion humanoid robots very, very soon if civilization doesn't change. It's this a big estimate. We can also control your body with your mind. We have seen this with bionic technology, quite amazing. Again, balancing our weaknesses, giving more accessibility, being more inclusive. So you have seen this feels really human. So everything we do with AI, robotics, Bisonic, it feels human, and it feels good because it's helping us. It's helping people to do things that we're no longer able to do. There is another example from last year, which some of you might have seen, where we see a big connection between different technologies. We have brain-chip interfaces, but we also have digital avatars. So this woman couldn't talk, and she all of a sudden, I wouldn't say all of a sudden, but with the necessary research and also with the interface plus her new digital avatar, where we now can connect her and she can speak, her whole family was in tears. So that's another beautiful case study, which we have seen where technology can help us. We have also started to use in augmented reality in surgery, and this is something which came out from the Johns Hopkins Institute.
New tonight, a first of its kind surgery at Johns Hopkins. Neurosurgeons performed an augmented reality surgery on a living patient. Now, during the procedure, they place 6 screws in someone's spine for a spinal fusion surgery. And this will help relieve that patient's chronic pain. Now, the technology used consisted of a headset with a see-through eye display that projects images of the patient's internal anatomy, such as bones and blood vessels. The surgeon
in the interview after this operation, the woman obviously was also again totally over the moon. We also have seen in particular in healthcare medical training, so that doctors or to-be doctors can train not only on dead bodies, I would say, but in AR and VR. We have seen that XR technology goes very, very far already, and we even have hospitals in the metaverse. We have generative healthcare AI helping us to simulate our patient future. Again, it can be very scary because do I want to know how I improve my health? Yes, but we will have then also to think about if we know certain things we can't do we want to do them still? It also affects the healthcare industry and in particular insurance, what is part of my background. I'm sitting still on the board of Generali, and that is big challenges, what you do in insurance when you know this patient has certain conditions. Is that helpful? Yes, it's helpful to a certain extent, but how do you use it? And this is from an academic research paper, which I find very amazing because this is what is in practice in some of the hospitals already now. You have digital twins, you have avatars, you have the patient, you can use 3D printed phantom scan, you can use digital twins. And the most important is you bring it all together into a medical technology and artificial intelligence entire ecosystem where everything is connected. So your digital twin becomes your life companion. And you might have seen also this tech entrepreneur. He spends a lot of million in longevity, every year 2 million, and he has an age of 45 years and he wants to be like 20. Is that a good ambition or not? We have to think about it and how he does it. I'm thinking when I'm looking at Eyes to the Future about a digital whale. So we might go outside, and before we go outside, we check our digital garment and we see what status we are in and what we can improve. Again, it also has the dark side with privacy and data and so on. So everything which we have to consider. A hyper-connected world. And what should that be? What do we want to aim for? We want to aim for happiness. We want to aim for equality. We want to aim for also good governance, for sustainability and well-being and health. And one of the countries who has still, or who has very much voiced this out is Tampere. It's a cognitive city they're trying to do until 2040. So the next big step for a lot of the countries, Dubai, Seoul, Singapore is very far advanced in that, are smart cities. So let's take Eyes to the Future. These smart cities could look like this. That's my vision. So what's the role of AI in all this? Again, it's from this big report in Big Ideas 2024. AI serves as a central technology catalyst. And when we look at this big matrix, you see that technology and what is catalyzing technology goes through all different verticals. And there are areas which are more heavy and there are areas which are less heavy. But AI is basically taking the center stage of everything. And we see this also very well in this big convergence. So a lot of people asking, why are we now talking about it? Because we had AI before. We had also cryptocurrencies before, we had smart contract, we had the future of money, everything was already there for years. We had everything there because we have a big convergence and because all of a sudden AI can also connect all these different, not only technologies, but way we can interact in a new world where we are differently present and where we are digitally present. So, but also another big question, when I was in Davos, I was attending also a longevity lunch for investment, and I learned a lot what is possible, and I learned a lot what are the challenges we face. So we have seen at the beginning, population challenges, health challenges, and how do we overcome them? What if AI can really unlock eternity? What happens? And I found this beautiful immortality roadmap, which basically demonstrate how far we are already. So Yuval Harari, Homo Deus, also is another book I strongly recommend you to read. He said, in pursuit of health, happiness, and power, humans will gradually change first one of their features and then another, until they will no longer be human. So what does it mean to be human? Regenerative medicine, we have lots of different parts we have seen also before. We have so-called psionics, and if you think that's the future, that you are frozen, then you are mistaken. The Brits have already hundreds of people who are cyrogenetically frozen in these kind of capsules, which we usually only know from science fiction, where they also Total Recall, I believe, where they're all waking up and it doesn't work according to plan. We have nanomedicine, which can help us and also in a positive way. We have digital immortality, so you can also have people now who are dead, you can talk to them, and all of this is kind of overwhelming. We also have longevity, genetic engineering, and we have AI. We have one of the examples here, which is uploading a human consciousness into a computer with the help of AI, which reminded me of Johnny Depp in Transcendence. This is partially already possible now. So if we think about ChatGPT and the custom-made ChatGPT, I can clone my entire life. I send all the documents there, and I've done this. And then you can start telling, okay, what do I want to with all this knowledge? I can create at the same time a digital avatar. This is also what we're doing in our AI services with synthesis. Hey, Jen, it looks like me. When I say avatar, I mean a digital twin with my knowledge, and I can even extend my knowledge because my knowledge might be very limited. So totally new opportunities and also risk and questions we have. We have cyborgs already for a long time. So if I don't have an arm, a limb, or some other missing pieces, I can add them and I can become a cyborg. Again, is that good or bad? In certain senses, it can help humanity, but what does it mean? How do we stay human? We have been living through different myths, I would say. And one of the myths is a Western Judeo-Christian myth, where we were in a paradise, we were in unity with God, and we were in unity with nature. And then all of a sudden something happened. Eve took the apple, and basically also not only men were thrown out of paradise, but also all humans, you can say, in a wider sense. So this we have to rewrite, and we have to let go of myth 2, which is this the one? Is he the one? You will remember that from the time when we looked at Matrix as one of my favorite. Is he the one? And we have to get rid of, is he the one? Is Mark Zuckerberg the one? Is Elon Musk the one? There is not only one. There are many people. We are all the one. And Roberta has said it. It's our destiny. It's our future, and we can shape it. It's very important. So we also were in Myth 3. We were always looking at the Father. So what is our purpose? Do we have only one purpose? We don't have only one purpose anymore. There's not only one goal. There is not only one future. So there is a higher purpose, yes, but it's not only one. And we have this favorite quote, which says, the future belongs to those who can hear it coming. So you are all here today and yesterday to see the future coming. What is the future? And we are trying to give you a glimpse of it. But how can we cope with all of this? We invent new metaphors. We have to invent new ones. And what I find helpful is the actor network theory. And one of the biggest inventor, you can say, is Bruno Latour. He's a French philosopher. He says everyone is an actor. If I say everyone, define the term everyone. Is human actors, is people. Is non-human actors, is iPads, is Wi-Fi, is hardware, is robots. So they become part of our social network. We have seen our new AI hands, our limbs become part of a network. And we have to think about also robots, how they can get more access. What happens to our teams when we all work together, when we are all in one network? That's one of the metaphor we can use for the future. We have an actor network. The second one which I would like to show you, comes from a psychologist, partial connection. So that might be a bit scary because we have dysfunctional systems. Everything is connected, but everything is also partial connected. So it doesn't mean that everything is one purpose, one future. We have different things, and we have what Donna Haraway, and some of you might also know her as a philosopher, actor, active writer, also wrote beautiful books. And one of the books she was writing was called Encounter. So how do we value encounters? This is very important. In a community, we value encounters not only with humans, we now also, when we take the actor theory together with this, we encounter robots. So how do we create value which is beyond economic value, which is what we are made for, which is this love and this care and this passion and being together and enjoying together, this encounter value. And the final one to have a metaphor is weaving. And this comes from another also very young, brilliant anthropologist. And she describes it as, we all know the knitting and the weaving when we have things on, or when we were younger, we're doing it ourselves. And this describes really how we knit with a lot of love and care, and how we make things together, and how we are all in a net. And this net can be bigger, smaller, can go in different direction. And I find this summarizes a new metaphor, which we have to use for our future quite nicely. So what future can technology create? And we all know that technology is made by people. We should not forget it. So we should not blame technology for anything. We have to blame people if it's not working. We also know that technology furthers the interest of people. And we know that we cannot have people who leave behind. We have to make sure that progress makes more, not more vulnerability, but less. So we have to not have anyone leaving behind. And in my view, that's more embracing the convergence of human and technology. We know that technology and innovation is very close with each other, also in terms of economic growth and economic value. We have shown that this can also go beyond not only economic value and the counter level. And we have the next level of adaptation. And we have all seen these pictures with coming from Mission Impossible, where he did this. And now we have the Vision Pro, which already does everything. Mark Zuckerberg has shown that the Quest can do the same, but I still find Apple is beyond what Quest does in terms of the experience. We can go immersive, we can work in augmented reality. So this is all now available to us. We can learn completely different. We have meta glasses, we have human AI pins and AI companion. We have also ear like BCI equivalents. So we just have like ear hearings where we connect with our brain, where through our brain we can control our mind. And now the latest one, which I believe a lot of you have seen, which is done with Sora. So we see that the virtual reality and the real reality are mixing up, because this looks so real, and this is created with AI as well. So what can we do with it? AI will certainly be smarter than humans within a couple of years. And we have a lot of people who talk about AGI, and the experts think it takes, some experts think is that within the next year, within the next 100 years. We have 80% who thinks within the next 30 years, and we have 5% that there are a probability that the long run effects of advanced AI on humanity will be extremely bad. So human extinction. So we have the side who's totally excited about it, and we have the side who rather thinks about it will be the death of humanity and the death of humans. So Sam Altman also in Davos reiterated he believes AGI, he will achieve that fairly soon, so not in 100, not in 60, not in 30 years. And he also states that AI systems that are generally smarter than humans, the target must be benefits all humans. We have quantum computing now accelerating everything which I have shown you before. And does super intelligence, AI, autonomous of human control, pose an existential risk to humanity? The core question we have to ask. Or is it prompting a technology wave of innovation? So what if AI can create a better world of all of us? And I created an alter ego of mine, Dr. Serena Vega. She is a quantum researcher and a new world, Femitopia. And I would like you to join this for a minute.
I saw a world teetering on the edge, yearning for change. Our planet was crying out, and I felt its pain. I dedicated my life to a vision, a dream of balance and harmony. Femitopia, a revolutionary artificial intelligence, was my answer, a beacon of hope in a world of chaos. But every solution has its challenges. The Aeon virus was one I hadn't foreseen. The virus changed us, made us immortal, but it came at a cost. Men, the other half of our world, began to fade. Femitopia's creation, the Aeon virus, was not a mistake. The virus had a purpose, a design I hadn't intended, but perhaps it was the world's way of finding balance. With our new existence came gifts. We can communicate with animals, understand them on a quantum level. It is a bond like no other. An unparalleled alliance was born. Women, animals, and technology. Together we share wisdom, work towards a common goal. Our mission is clear: unity, empathy, and balance. This is the world we fight for. This is the world we build. This is the beginning of Femitopia.
This is the world we fight for. This is the world we build. Remember, and we don't know exactly where we're going. We don't only have one future. We don't only have one purpose. We are all actors. We have to include human nature, robotics, everything. AI is part of it. And we have a very clear responsibility to ensure that scientific and technological advances serve the many and not just a few. And I found this from Annie Rand. She's saying the question isn't who's going to stop. No one will stop you. You are the only one who can stop you. So let's do it all together. Let's create a better world for all of us. And also join me tonight. The future is now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martha. Thank you so much. And along those lines, Dr. Martha is going to be hosting AI at the Edge of the Universe following our session today. Andrea is going to drop it into the chat, or just did just now. So I encourage you to make a copy of that link. She'll drop it in again at the end of our sessions today. And thank you again, Dr. Martha, for a wonderful presentation. Very, very inspiring, very thought-provoking, and consistent with this event over the last day plus, because we have so much to consider, and clearly Dr. Martha could have done several hours very informatively.
Thank you so much for giving me so much time and giving me this platform to talk to so many people. And I see a lot of communities I know joining. So thanks for everyone joining and giving me this opportunity. Thank you, John, Sharad, Susan. Yeah, thanks.
I would encourage everyone to follow the link following the seminar today. So thanks so much, Dr. Martha.
Thank you.
We're going to move now to Sharad is going to do a deep dive into the Metaverse, Matrix, and Maya. So we're looking at virtual reality and philosophical spirituality. It's a dynamic conversation I can't wait to start. And I'll invite Sharad to introduce Dr. Shreyas. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, John Scott. So it was on 2nd January that I received a message on LinkedIn from Dr. Srinivas, if you remember. And I quote, it said, of course, in the beginning, he said he was following my work in the Metaverse. And then he said, I'm pursuing my 2nd doctoral degree on exploring the connections between Metaverse and Bhagavad Gita. After reading this, I sent a message to Dr. Srinivas, you are on for this summit. And here we are today. So thank you, Dr. Srinivas, for sending that message on 2nd January. And I'm happy to welcome you to our summit today. This is the first time we've opened up the Meta Shapers Summit to the whole ecosystem. And this has given us an opportunity to interact with people such as you. So we are honored to have you. 1 PhD for me means a lot. 2, I can't even imagine. So congratulations on what you are doing. And I would actually like you to introduce yourself to our audience. I know you are from a fintech background, so please do your own intro and let people know, what you've been up to.
Thank you, Sharad. This is indeed a very warm gesture on your part. Just on a brief email, you're able to immediately connect. We spoke a lot and we had those interactions, and I'm here. Thank you so much. And this is a brilliant forum that I'm in. And just to give a brief of my background, I'm a compliance professional. I take care of regulatory compliance from the banking and financial institution sector for about last 20 years. In the recent past, I have been associated with a large fintech firm in the country, and I'm taking care of the fintech and regulatory compliance in that area. That was the professional part of my life. And as Sharad mentioned, I did my doctoral degree from Manchester University in the area of financial regulation in 2013. And now I'm pursuing the second doctoral degree from Chinmaya University, an university in south of India. And I'm trying to explore some connections between how Indian scriptures can be better understood through some of the technological developments like virtual world, virtual reality, and metaverse. So I look forward to this interesting conversation where some of my learnings can be useful or maybe interesting to the other audience, I hope. So over to you, Sharad. I would like to discuss some of these topics in our conversation.
So after we decided that I will be having this conversation with you, what I did is I immediately ordered a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. All right.
Lovely.
So you can see this is one of the authors. His name is Devdutt Patnaik, quite famous, I'm told.
Indian, yes.
I still haven't read all of it, but I can tell you that this is one book that everyone must read, regardless of your background, whatever you are doing in life, because this has a lot of lessons for life, right? So I strongly urge you, get your hands on any version of Bhagavad Gita, and you will thank me for this. Let's just leave it at that. All right, so now Dr. Srinivas, my first question to you. You are from a fintech background, yeah? How did you get into philosophy in the first place? What drove you there?
I think that is the bug that you get once you complete your doctorate, because anything that you start working upon, you look at it from a philosophical lens. So even the professional work that you do, you try to take a step back, and instead of doing the basic work, you also try to question some of the basic things that we do, why we are doing what we are doing. I think that is what our doctoral degree teaches us. And in the same context, when I'm talking about regulatory compliance, the one way to look at regulatory compliance is to see the law of the land, data protection, bias, anti-bias, all these topics which we come across in our day-to-day life. That is one part of the story as a professional. But as a philosopher,
sorry, there's some echo. I think it's from your end. So
Martha, your mic is still on.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Okay, I will take care of that. You please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when you also take a step back from your professional pursuit, you also take a philosopher hat, basically to say, why, say, for example, some of the rules are actually important, not necessarily what are the rules. We know that there is a kind of a harm that we want to prevent, but why is that harm even in the first place exist? So that is a fundamental question that we need to understand. So regulatory philosophy is a little step down to regulatory compliance. So that is what interests me, excites me, because you will understand, first of all, what is the harm that is getting done, and then you come out with the regulation. So in that context, for the fintech, which is going to be a new industry, and there is new regulations that are going to shape up day in and day out, we need to first of all understand how the innovation is getting evolved, and then the regulation follows the innovation. So the philosophical understanding of the innovation starts the basic for the philosophical understanding of the regulation. And in that context, I started understanding some of these topics. When we talk about virtual world, what is the philosophical imperative for us to develop something closely mimicking human beings? And when we understand that, then we'll understand how to regulate that. That's a fundamental premise.
Okay, my next question to you is, how can scriptures like Gita deal with Hindu philosophy and help, let's say, the metaverse developers?
There are two dimensions to this story, Sharad, if I may say. One is basically what is technically called as philosophy of technology, which is basically to say that there are some of these old scriptures, ancient scriptures, which has got some of these universal principles, not talking about the religious side of it, but there are universal principles which are important for us in the form of conduct, in the form of good values that we need to imbibe, whether it is a real economy or a virtual economy. So that is basically transferring philosophical learnings into technology. But there is another important story, which is equally important, which is called as techno-philosophy, which is I'm more interested in. Techno-philosophy is basically for those people who may not be interested in technology, in philosophy directly, because philosophy deals with abstract concepts. To understand those abstract concepts, sometimes it helps if we understand the technology. So this is what is called as techno-philosophy, and there is a bunch of professors and philosophers who are working on this. Take technology as the basis when we talk about something like interoperability. We all are familiar with the word interoperability as a technology person. But as a person who reads religious texts, actually, there are some characters in our ancient scriptures. Like, for instance, from Hinduism, there is a character called as Narada, who is the God's priest, actually, and the priest of all these higher celestial bodies. And he transfers across all these lokas, or the planets, actually. Now, his body, if we normally tell to our kids that this person exists and he travels freely across the universe, we may not understand. We consider it as a myth. But if you tell, if Narada is an interoperable character, then this generation kids will understand, oh, that means that his body is suited to different planets, not necessarily the heaven, not necessarily the hell, not necessarily the earth. That is the way in which technology helps us understand and reinterpret our ancient scriptures. So we have philosophy of technology on one hand, where we take concepts from philosophy and apply in technology. And we have techno-philosophy on the other hand, where we take some concepts from technology and try to re-understand and reinterpret philosophy. So both philosophy and techno-philosophy are equally important when we talk about the intersection between these two.
Got it. I remember last time when we were having a conversation, you told me that you are following very closely the work of David Chalmers, the Australian philosopher. Can you elaborate on that? What are the learnings from there? And your take on that.
Yeah. Just as you mentioned that everybody should read Gita, maybe a precursor to Gita could be, in my opinion, David Chalmers' book. It is Reality Plus and the Problems of Philosophy that we encounter in virtual worlds. That is what David Chalmers has written. I think he beautifully summarizes what is philosophy in 3 different questions, like especially in the context of virtual world. The 3 questions he says that any philosopher would be interested more so in a virtual context are like this. Question number 1, are virtual worlds real? Basically, he says that what is reality comes from this question. And then he goes on elaborating what is virtual reality. Then the second question he asks, can we know whether or not we are in the virtual world? Because this is some important question. He also says that maybe we are all living in a virtual world. Maybe we are already living in a simulation, but we don't know. And when do we don't know? When the simulator has got so much of computational capacity, when the virtual world creator has got so much of technology that he has created in such a way that your senses are completely defeated, then you may not even really know whether you are in a virtual world or in a real world. So then the next question is basically, the second question is about the knowledge question. How do you know whether or not you are in a virtual world? And third question, in fact, this is the most important thing. Just because the world around us is not real, just because we don't know that we are in a virtual world or not, we should not stop our pursuit. We should continue to pursue whatever is the world that we are in with certain values and ecosystem conduct. And that is the most important learning I have got from the book. Basically, not about reality, not about knowledge to find out what is reality, but having that uncertainty exists, that we don't know what is reality, we don't know whether or not we are in a virtual reality. The most important thing is that when we are in a particular world, try to understand the rules of the particular world, make that particular world a better place for all of us to imbibe and embrace. I think Metaverse is at that moment, we need not debate too much in terms of is it real, is it not real, because the impact that it is going to generate on the person who experiences is real. Whether or not the world is real, but the impact is real. So for us, it is more important debate, not necessarily whether it is virtual or real. The most important thing is what rules we are going to collectively try to enforce in that world is the most important question. So the reality question, the knowledge question, and the values question. These are the three philosophical constructs which philosophers are interested in. And these three questions are very beautifully applicable in the context of virtual worlds. That is what David Chalmers says in his book, Reality Plays.
Amazing. Also, I think Hollywood needs to be given credit because they came out with Matrix long back and that gave us a peep into the virtual world. Do you think that's the world we are entering into? Is that going to be real?
In fact, this is a movie that is ahead of all times, is all I can say, because the movie that has come in 1990s, while the first version has started and has given some kind of a visual descriptions of the three questions that I have said, whether it is real or whether it is imaginary, how do we know what is real and what is that we are supposed to do to make that world a better place? These are three questions beautifully depicted in Matrix movie. And much more beauty is that whatever we are talking, the Gita, the philosophy of ancient Hindu scriptures, for example, these are actually taken directly into the movie in the second version. Second version is basically Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolutions when we're talking about. There is a kind of a song that is getting played, which is called as Navaras. There is a tune that is composed for that Matrix Revolutions. And it starts by saying, Asato Ma Sadgamaya. This is a particular phrase taken from one of the Upanishads of Hindu philosophy, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is directly taken into the Matrix movie tune, which is Asato Ma Sadgamaya. It basically says that, oh God, lead me from unreal to real, which is what exactly the movie is talking about. Neo is actually stumbled upon a world in which he is not very comfortable, but he doesn't know exactly what is that discomfort is until he encounters the red pill and until he pursues his journey towards finding out what is reality. So Matrix is a very beautiful rendition of both the concepts, the Gita as we talk about, and also the David Chalmers book is completely based upon the movie's Matrix as a philosophy.
Amazing. So you've clearly established a connection between the Bhagavad Gita, Matrix, and the Metaverse. What next? Where are you with your study? I mean, what's exciting for you in terms of pursuing your next degree?
Now, I think the summary itself is one thing we have to start, because at this stage only I'm in a hypothesis stage. The hypothesis is basically, if you put three buckets, the bucket one is Gita, the bucket two is Matrix, the bucket three is Metaverse. To summarize the hypothesis is a very important conceptualization at this stage. The hypothesis is basically, Gita talks about Maya or illusion as we call it. Matrix calls it as simulation. Somebody is doing something to create a world. And Metaverse is talking about virtual world. And similarly, Gita might be explaining the same things in an abstract fashion, because there are certain terms called as jnana, that is knowledge, karma, that is the action, or maybe Maya, that is the illusion. So there are certain abstract concepts when you read Gita, but these abstract concepts are visually represented beautifully when we talk about movie Matrix. And then the same concepts are immersively explained, are told to us, are portrayed to us when we talk about Metaverse. And simply to submit, Gita might say that there is a God or a creator or a superpower behind the illusion that we are in. And Matrix says that there is a super machine or a matrix kind of a machine which is behind the simulation. And Metaverse says that there is a developer behind the virtual world. So the important question, I think, is what is interesting me, is that in all our ancient scriptures, the ultimate stage of a evolved soul is basically that I, as an individual, should reach out to, say, for example, the person who has created me. But I think in this next generation, we're also seeing the second thing happening. A developer also tries to understand when is a player character becomes a non-player character, or a non-player character becomes a player character. So now you are going to see a second stage where creators would be interested in knowing and trying to simulate what their creations are going to become. So it is not a one way of salvation that we are talking about, that individuals are going to get reach salvation to their creators, but creators also might be so much interested in understanding how their creations are going to play. So this is a kind of a whole new ball game for us. As developers, we should be excited because we'll be observing them, and we ultimately try to see how our creations are going to behave. And if they are going to interact with us, what are we going to do with them? Is an interesting question that we need to focus maybe in the next stage of philosophy.
Agreed. And also what's very interesting is that we are coming a full circle, in my opinion. With the metaverse, we talk about avatars, but in our, mythology, and our Indian gods were called avatars, right?
Yes.
Thousands of years back. And avatars are now in vogue thanks to metaverse.
Correct.
So I would say metaverse is nothing new. It existed back then. And I give a lot of, speeches in various conferences where I try and define metaverse. And the best definition I found is very simple. And I think the audience will love this. Close your eyes for a second. Just play along with me. Close your eyes. You are in the metaverse. It takes you to the virtual world. And I think that definition has stuck with me, and I think holds a lot of weight. We are on time now. I want to thank you, Dr. Srinivas, for this very interesting topic. When we launched this summit, I had no clue that we'll be going in this direction. But thanks to your message on 2nd of January, we are blessed to have had this conversation today. And by the way, audience, when you read Bhagavad Gita, you will realize the value of karma. And karma basically means that all the good deeds that you do in this life get added up. The bucket keeps filling up without our knowledge. And it's very important that while we may keep one eye on technology, it's more important to do good every day in incremental steps in our life. And Dr. Srinivas, last 1 minute to you. What are your takeaways from Bhagavad Gita and life in general? Please share with our audience.
No, we normally talk about a basic debate that whether artificial intelligence, whether virtual world, whether metaverse will try to take over human beings. That is the first question we always confront ourselves, and we consider that as $1 million question, because we are not very sure how these technologies are going to overtake human beings. But when we combine our insights from our philosophical scriptures and then redefine this question, we are not worried about machines taking over human beings. In fact, the first question we need to understand, instead of human being getting taken over by machine, do we really know what is being human means? It is not about human being. Do we really know what is being human means? Is it the 5 senses that we are talking is being a human? Is it the presence as an additional sense is what is meant by human? Is it some elusive concept or a hard problem of consciousness? Is it being human? Then once you start getting into that rabbit hole, you will understand that first of all, we are not very clear about what is being human means. If we are not sure about the item that we are trying to describe here, then there is no question of what machine getting taken over, because this itself is not fixed item, which is agreed upon by everyone. I think that is the important contribution of technology to philosophy. It raises a profound question that once we thought as a settled item, what is a human being, it wakes up and it disturbs and tries to ask ourselves what is being human means. I think this is one key takeaway for me in all these technological discussions and discourses. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you have got, I think, the phrase for our summit, being human. Thank you. And back to you, John Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharad, and thank you, audience, for the patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And it's interesting, Dr. Srinivas, because you touch on something that Martha touched on a little earlier, which is In the pursuit of health, happiness, and power, humans gradually change first one of their features, and then I forgot exactly how it says, and then they no longer are human again. So really questioning what makes us human and the aspects of that are going to carry forward. And as was mentioned in the chat, many of the old scriptures from all denominations mention things that can be extrapolated into what we're experiencing presently. So thank you so much for that very, very insightful presentation and sharing.
The only note is that it is not exclusively for a particular religion or a particular scripture. It is basically the context which we come from, but everybody, every scripture, every generation has their own treasure trove of knowledge of the same depth and breadth. So respecting all, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're going to move next to Sahar Milani is going to be moderating the next post. I'd ask you to come on camera, and appreciate you joining us today with the panelists. We have Hosna, we have Dr. Surin, Amna, my friend, and Alec. So I look forward to this panel very much. I will hand it over to you, Sahar, and I'll talk to you all in a bit. Thank you.
Hi, John Scott. Thank you so much. Can I just check everyone can hear me okay?
Yep, share here. 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me okay?
That's fantastic. Yep. Hi, Alec. Hi.
Hello. Sir, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
All
Thank you.
good. Right. So to kick off this wonderful session, hello, everyone. I am Sahar Milani, and I will be your moderator for this panel. We are going to be talking about human-centric education and development. And I am so excited because our panelists are full of incredible experience. I'm not going to go through all of their bios, but you need to look them up because, my God, they have a lot going on and lots to share. So our first panelist is the financial economist and frontier tech strategist, Amna Usman Chowdhury. She's been working with many global organizations, including the UN, and has been awarded and recognized as one of the top 100 women of the future. Next, we have the lovely Alec Johari, who is an award-winning filmmaker, designer, technologist, and is founder of a Web3-focused design development service organization. He has done many incredible things, amongst that worked with the London Olympics and the FIFA World Cup and their broadcasters. We've also got the wonderful Hosna Salmani, who is a multi-award powerhouse. She is currently doing a PhD in health and information management in Iran. She's an author, a keynote speaker, and she's developed an app specifically for cancer patients. And she approaches things from an incredibly human-centric perspective when it comes to health tech. So I know she's going to bring some really interesting insights too. And so to kick off the show, I think we've also got Dr. Surin Maurician with us, who will be joining us from Denmark, I believe. He is a founder, CTO, and Forbes Under 30 finalist, and he brings over 15 years of AI, software engineering, and marketing experience, managing over 70 businesses across diverse industries. So there you have it. Lots to talk about. I'm going to be quiet now and cut to the chase. So to kick off discussions, I'm going to start with you, Alec. You're really into enriching education and bridging gaps between theory and practice, which is what I love. Can you tell us how you see us being able to do that in Web3?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the question. And I think the preceding panel was so amazing. You just keep want to listen to them. So thank you, Sharad, Furnace, Susan, and everybody else for creating such a platform. So thank you, Sarah, again for the question, and fellow panelists. Hi. I wish we were sitting all together. See, the challenge, the way I see it is the gap between theory and practicality has always been there. What happens is, because when you're not connected with your roots, and it often happens when policymakers or anybody making a big decision at the top is disconnected from the roots, like what actually happening at the ground reality. There's a very big disconnect, and that's why you see all these challenges. So what happens is, one problem, I'm going to share that, and then I've thought about certain solutions to it, is that a lot of students coming out of the education system right now are not directly employable. They need to go through a certain amount of training. They need to join certain courses or certain, vocational activities to go ahead and make themselves relevant. And how Web3 is helping there is, that one is you got to strengthen the link. What I mean is that, you got to engage the students in projects which are solving local challenges. For example, and that's where technology will come into the picture. I'll give you a very good example, which is you can create a metaverse to showcase a local artist's artwork, and the proceeds from that can be used for upliftment of society. Like they can be accounted for different social initiatives, like food, like education. And what happens is that in education itself, NFTs can play a big role, that whenever somebody does a course, whenever that somebody has passed a course or some certification, they can be latched on to blockchain as NFTs, and they can be circulated for whatever jobs they're doing or whichever companies they are applying to. The other thing that the people really need to do is learn from experience. So for that, you need to have an action based research. The preceding panelist, who was talking about a very, very good link between Metaverse and Bhagavad Gita, which is a sacred book for Hindus. So you need to have an action-based research, and when people research, they need to be able to implement it directly so that they can create a correlation. And that's where technology will come into the picture. You can have collaboration with people meeting in Metaverse from anywhere in the world with self-expression, I'll give an example here again, that sometimes people are not able to express them freely because of shyness, and there's so many things which happen, right? And there are so many studies around that as well. What happens is metaverse, they can express themselves. Somebody likes a tattoo, they can have a golden hair or whatever. You can't do that physically, but you can actually do that as an avatar in metaverse. And that way, when you're feeling to yourself, you can connect much more freely with each other. I think I'm going to end here. I can talk a lot, but
yeah, I can tell you're really passionate about it. But you've made a really interesting point about this whole enhancement of the educational experience and helping us think outside the box. So with that, I think looking at how we can enhance things, I'm going to come to Amna, because I know that she's very interested in looking at how emerging technologies, specifically like blockchain and the metaverse, can enhance that educational experience even further. What would you add to what Alex just said in terms of enhancing things?
Thank you, Sahar. Great to be here, everyone. So I do agree that, education can be enhanced a lot by emerging technologies. So first of all, take the case of emerging technologies. There are so many. Let's focus on one of them, blockchain. So take the case of blockchain and decentralized storage on the blockchain for academic credentials. So when we focus on human-centric education, look at the case of refugees. So many well-educated refugees are displaced, but do not have access to their, certifications which prove that they are highly qualified and they are made to start over. So with accreditation on the blockchain, this problem is solved, and it is a very human-centric approach to it. You also have the concept of decentralized learning when it comes to blockchain, which democratizes access to education for people all around the world, providing accessible and democratic access to education. We also, looking at emerging technologies, staying with the case of blockchain, we have the incentivization via tokenization models and gamification aspects, which incentivizes students to gamify via tokenization, learn to earn methods in which once a student studies something, they are rewarded with tokens, which can then be exchanged for certain benefits. So all these different aspects, specifically focusing on blockchain, and so many on AI, spatial computing, metaverse as well. So there's huge, immense potential here.
Yeah, I can tell that the way in which it can not only bridge gaps, but elevate experiences for people and take it to another level, but also help that hyper personalization is really important, which you touched on. And speaking of personalization, I want to now come to Hosna, because what Hosna's done with her, not only with her PhD and the work that she's done, she's looked at taking that human-centric approach and applying it to people in healthcare. And that's an important area that can really enhance lives now that we're talking about really making a difference in the world. developing these apps for cancer patients to hyper-personalize their experience. Hosna, I'd like to ask you, from your experience so far in digital healthcare, etc., how can Metaverse personalize that healthcare from your perspective and revolutionize healthcare delivery?
Yes, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm happy to share my knowledge related to patient-centered care on a health scale and also the mix with Metaverse. You know that the future of healthcare is focused on patient-centered care. If we want to, for example, shift this transformative health, we should focus on patients' needs and also preference. And this is the key because it's very important and patients can more, for example, have a collaborative role in the treatment journey. And after that, we can see they are satisfied with the improvement and also they were satisfied with, for example, for example, surgery that they have done for them. And this is the key. And for example, if I want to shift to the Metaverse, if, for example, patient want to enter to the room and they want to connect with the specific provider, we should, for example, know what is, for example, their preference. And then we can interact with them, collaborate with them. And this is an important key to should focus on. And after that, for example, by customizing avatar base and also simulation environment, and we should see that the patient feel convenient in the environment. And then they can connect with more, for example, provider in this case, and then they can, for example, have virtual treatment and also we can also put virtual monitoring and remote monitoring. For example, if, for example, each patient have a specific wearable, the wearable and sensor can be connected to the physician and the data were sent to them. And then the physician can decide, for example, what, for example, they need. And then the process is going on and we can see the improvement in healthcare. So this is what we can expect in the future of Metaverse and patient-centric care.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you touched on that point. These technologies, augmented reality, generative AI, and how these technologies can improve healthcare really is the future, because you're entering a world where one person can have treatment in multiple countries and the doctor will know exactly what to do with them based on their case. They won't have to go through a whole list or go get their file. Everything will be in a centralized and well protected, because I think confidentiality is really important too. So looking at how all these technologies favor the human-centric and patient care approach is really important. So thank you so much for bringing that to the table. Speaking of AI, I know Surin is so passionate about everything to do with how this can contribute to personalized education and in the context of Education 2.0. So I'm going to come to you now, Surin, if you could tell us a little bit more, taking this further across the bridge, what contribution can you see AI doing in the context of Education 2.0?
Really exciting. Yeah, first of all, thank you to Sharad, Cybergear, Susan, Sahar for great onboarding and support. Really great lineup of speakers, and I'm really honored and happy to be here today with you guys. So about the AI and Education 2.0, since I'm coming a little bit interesting background with the academics and then different research and kind of PhD and stuff. So my PhD was also concentrated on this augmented reality and some AI models that I developed back in 2012. It was back then it was kind of not that complex as you see now with the big larger LLMs with ChatGPT and others. Yeah, so now we are kind of transforming, I think, in a more interactive environment with the launch of recent Apple Vision Pro and other devices and Metaverse revolution as well. I think that's the next level as we were expecting back then. And then by education 2.0,
Sharon, I think your network's a little bit fuzzy. Could you move a little
so
bit so that we can hear you properly?
Using this people with only their basic mobile. Oh, sorry. Is it better now?
It's still a little bit fuzzy. Oh, I think we might
sorry.
have.
Yeah, I was the internet issue. Is it better now?
Yes, that is better. We are back online. So please tell us more.
The last 10 seconds and I finished there, guys. So basically, with I think with these new revolutionary tools, we were able to create our AI humans. By AI human, I mean the brain of AI, right? So I'm working on this project, how we can basically use these recent advanced models and then program ourselves as extended reality humans. So for example, we're speaking right here today, the same Aleph Johari can be in another location. Let's say he's invited to speak in Hong Kong. So how we collaboratively as AI tech entrepreneurs can get this revolutionary technology forward. I think this spatial learning and Apple Vision Pro is one step ahead of that. So let's end there and then we can continue the discussion. Thank you for having me.
Oh, that's a great segue. I think that when it comes to these, great technologies, Apple Vision, Oculus devices catching up, as you said, and extended reality and AI powered humans have the ability to make us understand and experience things on a level that we've never been able to before. So I'm going to circle quickly back to Alec, who I know is incredibly passionate about enhancing education with these tools and making sure that, like, from a design perspective and all of these things, we're measuring how the progress is done. So could you quickly tell us, when it comes to measuring progress and defining success beyond the purely economic indicators, what would you say we would need to look at in order to measure success when it comes to human-centric education?
Ooh, fantastic. That's a very, very deep point. See, the few things that I can really say that, see, one is let's keep the the financial aspect of things aside. If we just like what we discussed, just keep the financial aside. What else is important for us? What else is important for a human being? It needs to be good health, good mental conditioning, good mental peace, good relationships, and these are all and good food and the basic stuff, right? And those are the ones which will actually define how you are. These are the matrices. If am I really happy going outside? I mean, not being very self-centered. So these are the kind of matrices that need to govern, and the standard ones which are there right now. I was going through some economic indicators, human development indexes, and I think there was something also called as a happy planet index, right? But are they really taking everybody into the account, or they just see, normally what these indices do is they take into account these small measurement of, say, about 20, 50, 100 or 1,000 people, but that's not a measure for 7 billion people, 7 billion plus people. So and that's where I think technology will come into the picture. How, say, if I go ahead and tomorrow log into a system which is measuring happy index, right? And I say that I'm not happy today, and there are certain factors that I can choose from. And if everybody does that, and we are kind of putting all that data onto a blockchain, which, where it cannot be tampered with, and then we're recalling that data and creating some AI-based tool, that's where Surain can help, to feed that data and then figure out, which geography is dealing with which challenge and how people are doing it. So this, in fact, I'm building something that in Web2 space, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to say.
I totally get what you mean. And I think that it's really important because when we're looking at that, just to I know we're running out of time, but I just want to quickly touch on, Amna, the ethical implications of what Alec is talking about. Like, what are the considerations we need to make? Can you like just rattle a few over to me before we end, just so we can wrap it
Yes.
up?
So there's so many ethical concerns. So first of all, very quickly, data collection, all these devices, blockchain, all these technologies, AI, spatial computing headsets, VR headsets, they're all collecting data. So data concerns, security concerns of these data are paramount and should be looked into. With these technologies, going on to the topic of ethics, it's also important to keep into account the accessibility. So AI can play a pivotal role in accessibility with, text to speech, speech to text, etc. But we stakeholders, all of us need to make sure that these technologies and these educational resources are as accessible as possible. Speaking of AI, there is also biases, which, again, comes into play, specifically algorithmic biases in AI due to the training data sets such as gender bias, ethnic biases, which really need to be, vigilantly supervised to ensure that students are not negatively impacted. And, there's so many issues. There's copyright issues, there's environmental and sustainability issues that come up with ethics, because all these technologies have, impact. And last but not least, inclusivity. Inclusion, we already have the digital divide where 1.3 billion people are not connected to the internet. So we need to make sure all stakeholders involved that these technologies enhance education in an inclusive way.
Absolutely.
So very quickly, knowing we're running out of time.
No, great point to end on. And I think it's something that Hosna also mentioned earlier when she was talking about how we treat patients and how the doctors interact with them. So inclusivity is huge. And on that note, bang on time, I'm going to thank everyone for listening to us, and feel free to take this conversation onto LinkedIn with our participants to get more stuck into it. If this is an area that really fascinates you, please, I encourage you to please take this forward. It's important. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks
Thank you
so
very
much,
much,
Sarah.
everybody.
Thank you for the
Bye.
panelists.
Thank
as
you very
well.
much.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. And it's interesting, the questions that were raised, we're going to be going into next. I'm looking for Dr. Okan Tansu to join us for his presentation. Great. There you go. Welcome. And I know you're going to be continuing.
Can you see me?
Yes, for sure. I know you're going to be continuing a little bit with the education piece in terms of personalized education. So I will kick it over to you now and let you kick it off. Thank you.
Hello all. I'm Dr. Okan Tansu, an academic in Germany at BSBI, Berlin School of Business and Innovation. I send you my greetings from Berlin to all of you. And first of all, thank you for participating in this important event, organized with passion and lots of efforts by Sharad Agarwal, Susan Furness, of course, John Scott Turco and Andrea Shopka, and the whole team of MetaShapers. Actually, when I was asked to make a speech about education, I wanted to cover, first of all, the last 20 years of the education and its evolution. So today I'm going to talk about education and its evolution through Web3, AI, and the Metaverse. So first, I will focus on the new aspects of education, particularly its engagement with AI. Then I will discuss the transforming landscape of education, specifically concerning the Metaverse. And finally, I will share my own experience that I have with my university campus in Metaverse, and mention briefly our current initiative at BSBI. So far, education has undergone two significant revolutions since the appearance of the digital age. Coming from a traditional French education system where professors, lecturers, teachers, and curricula held a central role, I observed and witnessed the disruption of a whole education system in just a couple of years by the integration and the big impact of the internet as I transitioned from being a student into an academic. Initially, both students and academics were very amazed by the easy and fast access to the information on the internet, actually without a clear understanding of the differences between data, information, and knowledge. I find this difference very important and even very crucial for the education, but it's for sure another discussion. It's not today's topic. So with this widespread adoption of smartphones and the omnipresence of the internet, Web 2.0 introduced a broad range of interactivity and numerous diverse features, ultimately driving a significant transformation in education regarding the content, the teaching, and the learning patterns. In summary, the advent of computers, laptops, tablets, and smartphones enabled the outsourcing and storage of information. Consequently, students and other learners no longer felt the need to memorize or to assimilate knowledge, leading to an overconfidence and to an absolute reliance on online sources. I think that this situation marked the first disruption in education caused by the initial wave of the digitalization. Now we stand at the door of a new era where artificial intelligence is keen to disrupt once again the entire education system. As we have outsourced access to the information and its storage to the smart devices, there is a growing possibility of extending the privilege of analysis, long-term planning, and the creation of real-life algorithms, which are all very important assets of the human mind or human beings, to learning machines or AI-powered platforms. And it's right now happening. From my perspective, the entire education system, especially the evaluation methods, must be reshaped with the new learning and teaching approaches, considering all aspects of artificial intelligence and the opportunities it presents. I don't consider AI as an enemy, but we should definitely and absolutely consider the opportunities it presents and then shape the whole education system as for these opportunities. I do also firmly believe that this step is mandatory to assure an education with a high standard. Let's now move to our second focus, the environment of education. It is obvious that throughout history, education has been defined by specific locations, campuses, buildings, and classrooms. However, the current dynamics of real life are fast-paced, and the static nature of traditional education systems struggles to keep up. Despite initial concerns, the capabilities of online education have been reinforced, especially during the pandemic. However, the visual communication with many online education platforms remains limited to 2 dimensions and predominantly focusing on a fraction of the body, typically around 1/3, which is actually the case for this webinar as well. Furthermore, the course content often fails to adapt properly to the interactive nature of the online education. With the emergence of Web 3.0 and immersive technologies, education is at a crucial moment of the new wave of digitalization. Once again, I want to underline that I firmly believe that education in the Metaverse will eventually replace traditional online education as we currently know and utilize it. The reason why I believe in this replacement is that the immersive communication, the 360-degree environments and virtual reality features offered by the Metaverse create a more engaging and motivating experience for the participants. As the Metaverse environment presents its distinct dynamics, it is essential for us to take the lead in shaping education across both content and environment. As stakeholders of the education, we must learn from the mistakes made in the early stages of the online education and not disregard the dynamics inherent to the Metaverse. Therefore, the key question is whether we are prepared for this shift or not. Actually, although we might not be fully prepared, some of us, like myself, we have already launched pioneering educational initiatives within the Metaverse. Having briefly outlined the journey of education in the last 20 years and its future from my perspective, I now want to share my experiences about the education in Metaverse and mention very briefly our current initiative at BSBI, Berlin School of Business and Innovation. Let me share my screen. Yeah, and here we go. Can you see it? John Scott, can you see my screen?
We can see, yes.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you
we
very
can see
much.
your
Okay.
screen now. Yes.
So 2 years ago, I had this idea of creating my own university campus in Metaverse. And after months of design process, I could realize this dream of mine. In this visual, you can see me standing in the middle of the campus, having 3 different buildings. It's another actual visual. And this is one of the building having NFTs on the wall, and it's a gathering place for the students as well as for the professionals and so on. I also have the intention to integrate a Metaverse library into this campus, and I'm planning to step further for this new initiative in the near future. And after having created this platform, this campus of mine in the Metaverse, I began to host some of my lectures, and then I began to show my students the meetings and the dynamics of the Metaverse at the campus. In this visual, you can see some master students that I had for the digital transformation lecture, and in another one, you can see some students for the digital marketing lecture. Since the creation of this campus of mine, my university, let's say, has also hosted many international events with the collaboration of diverse Metaverse community like K-Meta Nippon. We also had some concerts together. I also hosted NASA Space App Challenge closing ceremony for one group. So it works like a real physical university campus. Last year, this platform was nominated as a finalist for the Best Education Platform of the Year 2023 by World Metaverse Council. And I think it's a very important encouragement and achievement for my initiative. And when it comes to the physical environment of the lectures, this is how it looks. This is the calibration process of the VR glasses by the students. You can see their enthusiasm, and this is how we begin the lectures, and then they can join the lectures at the campus. It's another visual for the lectures, and I think this picture is very iconic because it is a kind of summary of the whole education history in the last 20 years. You can see the paper that I'm using to explain some things. You can see the smart board, and you can see also the VR glasses used at the same time at the same lecture. Now, I want to also briefly mention our recent initiative at BSBI. We intend to create a university platform in Metaverse, which will be the intersection of multiple departments like computer science, business and management, and the creative industry fields like graphic design, fashion management, and so on. Our vision is to create a real university campus in Metaverse with full capabilities, and we actually aim to create a university to bring the education to a new level in Web 3.0. I want to finish my speech by the famous saying of Arthur Schopenhauer, who is a German philosopher. He was actually a very wise philosopher to have already shared his views about the truths. So all truth, as for Arthur Schopenhauer, passes through stages. And the first stage is that this truth is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as being self-evident. I think this is the case, which is matching perfectly with the Metaverse. I think we are still at the first stage, first step. But at some term, and this term won't be very in long term, the Metaverse and all the opportunities that the Metaverse is offering, especially in education, will be accepted as being a self-evident. Thank you for listening, and thank you for hosting me for this important event.
Great, thank you so much, Okan. I appreciate your presentation very much. You brought up so many interesting issues and opportunities for us to focus on as we look forward. And I look forward to seeing what comes next from you and from the university there. Thank you so much for presenting today to our groups.
Thank you.
I'd like to now move over to Radhika. We're looking at rebalancing Web3 and AI. I really love this topic very much. I'm really looking forward to what you have to say and creating harmony in this space. So I will kick it over to you now and let you start. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks so much, John Scott, and a big shout out to Sharad and Susan as well, and Andrea in the back. Terrific crew taking care of all of us. Pleasure to be here with you today. I've been in and around technology most of my life. I'm here in Silicon Valley and have seen certainly many arcs of waves of technology come by, and we're sitting on the AI wave at the moment. But today I'm going to share a presentation that is largely based on my critically acclaimed book called Enterprise Blockchain Has Arrived, which was published in 2019. And it's really the source of this presentation, so I'll be sharing more information on that. I'll go ahead and share screen. Let me know. Can everyone see?
Yes, you're visible. Thanks.
Awesome.
Yes.
So been around technology most of my life, like I mentioned, and one of the things that I really do focus on is the responsible use of technology, and that includes ethics as a subset of that, of course, as well. I've been an advisor to the member of a task force advising Governor Gavin Newsom of California and California State Legislature on the responsible use of Web3. And now when all of the movements are around us in regulatory policy that are being shaped worldwide, it feels also a little bit like a deja vu. We've done this before in blockchain, and we are going to do it again with AI. So a lot of what I'm looking at is really the power of convergence of technology in various industries. And in my day job, I am a founding partner at StarChain Ventures. We're a venture studio based here in Silicon Valley. And we are definitely focused on the convergence of technology. So I'm here to share with you some of my thoughts today on that, and look forward to hopefully an engaging discussion later on if time permits. So AI is here. And my big question is, are we ready? I think that all of us are looking at this as a transformative technology, and certainly looking at the positive applications in various industries, and it has the power of transforming so many industries, as we know. However, there are also some underlying challenges, like any technology has. So the question that I have for all of you is, are we ready for this technology? And I think what I will show you hopefully today is that we can make ourselves more ready for this technology. We can harness the best of AI with combining it with Web3 principles and decentralization principles. So that's kind of what I'm going to share today with you. I wanted to put up this graphic saying these are some of those inconvenient truths of AI. Balance and perspective is really, really important as we go forward in shaping this technology. What are some of the risks and challenges? For one, explainability and transparency is a huge one. We certainly don't want to end up with AI as a black box that we can't explain things and we don't know the source of where it's coming from. There's a lot of things that can happen during the process. And so the idea is that we want to come up with a technology that is much more explainable and transparent and therefore more responsible. There is a question of data ownership and agency over that data. So whether you are an individual person using AI and thinking about what ownership of data means, you certainly don't want to be using large language models, for example, which don't have the same kind of value alignment and own everything you're putting out there. So creator rights are super important as we go forward. And this applies to enterprises too, because enterprises are also concerned about data ownership and agency over their proprietary data. So that then brings up the next question, which is IP and copyright protection. As we know, a lot of the large language models in their earlier iterations and some that are still around right now are operating kind of based on sourcing data that is generally available on the internet, but they haven't asked for permission always. And in many of the cases, there's copyrighted information that is being used without license. And so there's numerous lawsuits going on at the moment with various well-known authors who are basically saying that their entire books and their content, their creators, their creative genius basically has been used without license. And so there's many lawsuits going on today regarding that. Cybersecurity, I know that in the previous panel, some of this was brought up as well. Absolutely, there are many attack vectors, and this includes not only the ability to be attacked with the use of AI. The use of AI, it's giving much more sophisticated tools to hackers to be able to conduct much more smart phishing. Social engineering is going to be moving at a whole new level. So we want to really look at, how we can utilize the best of technology to also protect ourselves in this process. And there are numerous, I would say, startups as well as large companies that are getting into this mix that are part of that critical infrastructure stack for enterprise as well to protect what we have going forward. Surveillance and privacy intrusion, that's another big one, particularly in democratic countries. What we are concerned about is, we don't want to become a surveillance state. So the use of AI and facial recognition to be used in, less than ideal ways. This is already happening. Crime and racial profiling are some of those issues that we can think about. And this is unfortunately the reality is that you could be racially profiled based on how you look, et cetera, and what demographic you're part of. So these are the types of things we really want to be aware of. Misinformation, manipulation. Manipulation can come in the form of deep fakes. I will go through that in just a bit. Misinformation can also come about with using AI to propagate information that is wrong, that is false. This can happen in elections, and there's election interference types of issues that can come up with misinformation and many other types of propaganda kind of fears that we can have. Zero-sum, winner takes all. This comes back to the data ownership and agency position that I mentioned, which is we don't want large companies basically owning everything that we're putting out there, and really zero-sum game, all of this, where we don't really own and we don't have any rights as we go forward. And then the last bit is economic risk and inequality. This is something that is really near and dear to my heart. As we continue to move forward and we have these divides that are happening, who has access to what is being developed? who is actually developing this as a matter of fact. And so what we want to do is develop this technology and harness the best of this technology, being inclusive and diverse and not leave anyone behind. So I wanted to touch a little bit about the differences between Web 2 and Web 3. This comes back to, again, the issues of data ownership, security, transparency, and data manipulation. These are four central themes that I will be touching upon as I go through the presentation. In Web 2, you have a single owner, basically one entity that owns an entire everything that happens within their field or realm, if you will. Whereas in Web 3, it's a joint ownership among multiple owners. And so things are much more distributed and decentralized. And so there are many stakeholders that each have their power to have and to contribute and to own what comes out of it. So it's a very different construct when we're thinking about Web 2 versus Web 3. Security. Web 2 Cloud actually has some core security in place. The reason why we have so much of attention now in cybersecurity and with ransomware having come to an all new high is because there is a single point of failure. And so once the systems are breached and penetrated, which are getting easier and easier to do with social engineering and phishing, for example, we have security issues underlying all of Web 2 architecture. So Web 3, on the other hand, with its decentralized mechanisms, is able to provide better security, actually pretty immutable security, if you think about it, pretty rock solid security for most purposes. Some of the issues that we've seen in Web 3 are not due to the decentralization aspect of it, but due to the centralized front ends, if you will, that are being hacked. Transparency was, as we can imagine in Web 2, if you've got a single owner of the system that owns everything, it's easy for that owner to basically do whatever they want in their field and then cover up their tracks, so to speak. So there's less transparency. There's much more, opportunity for data manipulation, and it happens all the time. In Web 3, because of its immutable ledger, and because everything is an auditable trail through the entire chain, you can't delete anything. You can amend things, but you can't delete anything. And because of that immutability, there is going to be less opportunity for data manipulation because everybody can see kind of what's going on, and you can always check the ledger and check the trail of records, as we might imagine. So these are some of the central points that do compare and contrast the two architectures, if you will. What are some of the challenges in centralization? We've got widespread invasion of user privacy, data that can be siloed or unshareable. We've got biased data and algorithms. This comes back to who's developing that algorithm. What data set are they using? Are they using data sets that are actually inclusive and diverse and representative of the population they're serving? And then there are issues such as single points of failure, like I mentioned, lack of data set transparency, and untrustworthy or incomplete kinds of data as well. So these are issues that centralization offers or exist in centralization. And basically, we can solve for these kind of underlying challenges through Web3 models. And I will just say that it's all about data at the end of the day, because with anything, it's garbage in and garbage out. And what I say with generative AI, for example, it's garbage in equals exponential garbage out, because there's some self-training mechanisms. And so as we start incorporating those self-training mechanisms, it's possible to amplify whatever came in, right? And so if we have bad data coming in, we can assume and presume that what's coming out on the other side is also going to be even more garbage, if you will. So it is exponential garbage out. Centralized data sets are definitely a single point of failure. This is something that we absolutely have to watch out for. And they are a single point of failure on multiple other levels, because if you're using these narrow data sets that are not representative of the global population, it is possible to come out with a completely biased perspective. So the data sets that we're looking for to have a more responsible AI going forward are contextual, they're complete, and they're balanced. I talked about the agency and ownership of data. Both individuals and enterprises are very concerned about this. Ownership of enterprise data is something that is super sacrosanct to them because this is proprietary. So they don't want their data to be out there. And there are ways, and I'll talk about this in a minute, that enterprises can architect things which protect the proprietary nature of their data and yet are able to share what they want to share in an ecosystem. Same thing happens with individuals who are using models, for example. But when they use these models, you're basically giving up all of the rights to it, if you will. There are many models that just basically own everything you're putting on there. So really, buyer beware. You absolutely have to be aware of what the privacy concerns are around different models. And there are models today, large language models today, and custom models, smaller models that allow for the privacy of data. So this is something that's incredibly important. Accountability over data is incredibly important as well. What we're seeing in Web3 models is the ability to add layers of data protection. So we're really protecting the complete arc of data, the source of data, how it comes in, how that ownership of data is brought into the picture through the identity, decentralized identifiers. So these are blockchain-based kind of identifying mechanisms to help protect kind of the ownership of that data, right? And then along the way, how that data is managed and is administered is also very important. And then what comes out of it is really a data set that can then train AI models in a much more effective and responsible manner. We talked a little bit about manipulation. This can occur. It's reputational harm. We've seen numerous incidents that have been happening globally. And unfortunately, I think young women, girls, are being affected. Deep fake is a reality, and the ability for anyone to access the power of AI to then create something that causes reputational harm to other people is something that is of great concern. And this is one of those things that is being addressed in various regulatory policy forums globally. But I would just say that, when AI was released, it probably was released a little too soon. So there's great power in AI, but it's kind of like putting something that has such great power and putting it in the hands of someone who might not know exactly what they're doing with that power. And it's almost like giving a child a weapon and say, use it responsibly. You think about a child. I'm not talking about children necessarily accessing AI all the time, although in this case, it was teenagers that were accessing this AI, and they thought it was just funny to do this with their classmates' images and convert them into deep fake explicit images. So these are really big concerns as we go forward. There is societal harm that is in play here, and we do want to go forward in a way that is much more responsible. Scams, cybersecurity risk. I mentioned the fact that data can be manipulated when you use AI bots to spread propaganda in a negative way. Let's say for an election time here in the United States, we're going to be entering this election cycle, and that's very much on people's minds. Now, larger companies are using their muscle and influence to try to protect that, that we don't end up with an election interference phenomenon again. But I will just say that it's one of those things that is very, very insidious. And so scam calls, robocalls, all of these things can be actually proliferated pretty quickly and pretty convincingly. And this is a growing problem in terms of how do you establish trust in the systems that we work with. I'd like to put a little spotlight on a company called SingularityNet. Our good friend, Dr. Ben Goertzel, is father of AGI. He's been spending most of his life on artificial general intelligence. And he's got a whole suite of companies under the umbrella of SingularityNet, which is really an alternative. It's decentralized, it's democratic, it's got open methodology and systems. And so this is also part of something called the Decentralized AI Alliance. And we were there kind of at the inception of that as well, to watch how this is growing. This is a 50-member list of companies. And the goal is to advance something that has a different construct at the very base premise, which is how do we create something that's safe, that is responsible, that is open, that reflects positive human values, benevolent or beneficial AI, as Dr. Kurtz likes to say. So this is something that I think is hugely interesting, and what they're coming up with as alternatives are really compelling. And if you haven't heard of SingularityNet, I urge you to look at that. I wanted to end with a few use cases. We could spend all day talking about the various ways in the power of AI and Web3 and how that harmony can be harnessed in positive ways. Melody is an open consortium. It is in the pharma and life sciences area, and it's really for dramatically improving drug discovery. In fact, Melody, the acronym stands for machine learning orchestration for drug discovery. And they actually had teamed up with NVIDIA to supercharge AI-based drug discovery by enabling, and I mentioned this is a consortium, so there's 50 pharma companies that are able to collaborate in an ecosystem fashion and protect their highly proprietary data of, let's say, chemical libraries, which, you're thinking about molecules here, but it is incredibly important that they protect their proprietary IP, but they are able to share through federated learning models combined with decentralized architectures to really annotate these in a way and share the weights of the algorithms rather than the data itself across the ecosystem. And that does two things. Number one, it protects proprietary data, which is one thing that they absolutely want to do. That is their golden egg, and they certainly don't want to give that away. But they're also able to share the weights of their research, if you will, on the data without revealing the data with other members in the consortium. And that enables greater research to happen. It accelerates drug discovery and drug development in new and innovative ways. And this has been a hugely successful undertaking in the last few years. So this is something that's incredibly exciting as we move forward, and really showcases an example of true success, where if you can architect things the right way, you can have some amazing results coming out of it. Transportation and the future of mobility is something that is also very exciting. As we know, self-driving is here. What we want to do is look at the next generation of what self-driving means, because we're using not only AI, but also using IoT. And when you put blockchain into the mix here, it's really the powerful trifecta of blockchain, AI, and IoT that is providing the mechanism for more responsible self-driving. Some of the issues that have come up have been where the self-driving system may not recognize a particular object, may not recognize that a truck is a truck. We were just talking in other circles yesterday, because I co-lead an AI class that I'm teaching online. And we were talking about how the AI-based system did not see a truck in an non-highway scenario. So it was trained only for seeing trucks on highways, and so it couldn't see the truck in a side road, and the car ended up crashing into the truck. So that can happen where it's not recognizing things because it hasn't been trained the right way. It can also get pretty complicated if we know some of these issues with facial recognition, for example, where an AI-based system might not be trained in the right way to see people of color, people who are not white, basically. And so imagine a self-driving car situation where the car doesn't see somebody who is dark in skin. So that can create huge ramifications. Who's responsible at the end of the day? So these are issues as we move forward with really powerful technology. We have to bear the weight of responsibility around that technology with that power. And so GM, for example, and BMW have joined forces to really ensure that they have blockchain-based systems that are protecting what they're doing. And GM actually is sharing something called MOBI, which is another consortium that is also dealing with this situation where, how do we harness the best of Web3 and blockchain so that we can use things much more responsibly. So it's a combination of multiple technologies. In this case, it's AI, IoT, and blockchain combining together very powerfully to transform the future of mobility. And lastly, I wanted to share a quick note, which is on logistics and supply chains. We all know that, especially during the pandemic, we saw a lot of the holes in supply chains and how that works. And unfortunately, because traditional supply chains really only have visibility for the step in front of you and the step behind you, there is no continuous visibility and transparency across a full supply chain. And so incorporating blockchain ensures, A, that the data is secure across the entire chain, that there's no manipulation or fraud along the way, but also ensuring that all the stakeholders have complete end-to-end visibility and transparency across the supply chain. So harnessing AI and Web3 and IoT when it comes to having sensors for, say, transporting cold items across globally. These are ways in which we can optimize the supply chain. We can improve effective communications among the stakeholders so everybody sees what's going on, and that it's really an ability for an entire ecosystem across the logistics and supply chain to come together to ensure that what is being transported is secure and that things get to on time and nothing is, no mishaps along the way. And even if there are mishaps, that you can actually explain those. So some key takeaways. AI alone is insufficient for solving some of the foundation issues that we've been talking about. Web3 does offer critical infrastructure elements like decentralization, digital ownership, and building trust into an ecosystem. It has the potential to rebalance and improve AI ML algorithms, and that, you know, through the combination of AI and Web3, we hope to add real value to human society. And that's really the whole purpose of great technology. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, Ritika. So many great points, and I'm looking forward to seeing this replay so I can look through it a little bit more in detail, because now I'm trying to keep us, get us back into the loop with the next presenter. Thank you so much. And thanks for waking up early in San Francisco.
Sure,
so we're going to
thanks,
go now
my pleasure.
Take care. And we're going to go now to Miriam Bryan, who's been waiting patiently backstage. And we look forward to your presentation. It's going to be looking at really interesting quantum multiverse reality. So I look forward to this very much. Look forward to your presentation, and looking how art is going to play into this is a new look for me too. So I look forward to this, Miriam. We can see your screen. Great.
Miriam, you're on mute.
I think Josh could just come back. Will talk to Mariam first so that we can fix the presentation. Maybe until then, you can just talk with Sharad about what happened and let me fix it.
Sure. Thank you very much. So, my friend, Sharad, I should take a moment, since we have this unexpected moment, as everyone is, to thank you for your specific influence over the community in starting this. This was a wonderful conversation we had many years back, and it's come a very long way and is going even farther as we speak. So I look forward to what's next, my friend. So any takeaways from today thus far, Sharad, that you want to share with the group?
Absolutely. I mean, it all started almost 26 hours back, I would say. First day alone had so many takeaways. We are still digesting that. Today, again, some amazing presentations. Roberto got us started on, sharing some, I would say, secret sauce for, startups in terms of what investors are looking at. And then Martha had this amazing presentation today with all those case studies of what the metaverse is all about and where it's going. And I think while AI might have hijacked those conversations of metaverse, eventually I think AI will be the one that will empower metaverse to go next level. So they will work in tandem. And like Radhika's presentation, I mean, all technologies at certain point of time converge, right? Whether it's IoT, which came so many years back, AI, which again came so many years back. People tend to confuse, I think, AI with Gen AI. Gen AI is something new. Yes, it happened maybe last November, but AI has been there for donkey years. I mean, I remember 10 years back, we were offering AI solutions to Middle East clients. And just because we have some time now, I want to share with the audience case study that we had done right here with Dubai Duty Free. So what we did was very interesting. We took their sales data from all the POS machines in Dubai Duty Free. And as you guys know, Dubai Duty Free is probably one of the largest duty frees in terms of billions of dollars turnover. So what was interesting was all the sales data was lying with Dubai Duty Free in Excel files, and they were doing nothing with it. It was just data, and they were a bit complicit, I would say, in that they thought business is so good, why do we need to analyze this data? But we promised them that if they shared, like, I think 3 months data with us, we will show them how they can increase their ROI. And all we did was took that data, put it into an AI engine, which was proprietary software that we had developed. And on the other side, business and insights were created in a jiffy with no programming. It was a software which could clean up data and which could, within minutes, generate business insights. And I give one quick example. For example, let's say Chinese travelers coming to Dubai, and they come in plane loads, as you know, right? So Dubai Duty Free thought a Chinese traveler is a Chinese traveler. But once we took their data and analyzed, we showed them how somebody traveling from Beijing has different buying habits than somebody coming from Shanghai or any other city. We also proved to them that people who are traveling on business buy differently than those on vacation. Those who are traveling single buy differently than those who are coming with family. I mean, there were so many learnings. We showed them the top 10 products that Chinese buy from different parts of the world. And they started using this information on their website. So somebody from Shanghai, when he logs in, he sees the top 10 products that they typically buy, not the standard generic page of duty free. So you get very customized, personalized information, and that helps you increase your ROI. So clearly there's a very good business case of AI, and I think it's just a matter of time before it infiltrates every industry and every geography. So I think it's good we are having this summit today, where there is a lot of focus on AI, and a lot of people already have shown the real benefits, and matter of time before mass adoption happens. You're on mute.
I see our friend Jamie Bike of Bread is here, and I know Jamie created, Alexa and Siri before Alexa and Siri were created back in his younger days. So yeah, the AI assistants and things that we were seeing commonplace. I had to give you a little shout, my friend Jamie. It's pretty miraculous.
Actually, Jamie was, I think, the first one who came as an avatar in our webinars. Jamie, you remember that?
I do, yeah. We not only had coming in as an avatar, but I think we were probably the first people to do a live conversation with ChatGPT, which was very interesting.
Yeah, so instead of you, it was powered by ChatGPT, and it really got the imagination of all of us.
Yeah, that was exceptional. I'll actually source that during the next talk and drop it in the chat, that webinar for Only Webinars. That was a great one too. So
actually, if Jamie's panel is ready, we can go with Jamie. I don't know if your panelists are already in the house, but if they are, we could switch Mariam's presentation for a later time, and we can hand it over to you, Jamie. Do you know, Jamie, if your panelists are in the house?
All panelists are here apart from Francesca, but she's just texted me to say that she's had something come up and is going to be unable to make it.
Okay,
so we have our full house.
Yeah, I think we hand it over, John Scott, to Jamie to continue the sessions.
Sounds good. All right, Jamie, it's yours.
Exciting. Thank you so much. Panelists, if I can just get you to turn on your webcams, turn on your microphones so I know that you're here, ready to go, ready to rock. That's what I like to see. Fantastic. I think Costilino, Would you want to just turn on your webcam as well, and then we can get started? Right, I'm not sure he's there yet. So what I could probably do is let me do an introduction, and then Costinho, he can join in as soon as he can. So if somebody wants to just drop him a note in the voice in the WhatsApp groups, then we can make sure he joins when he joins. But I think we should get started with everyone that we have. Oh, we have full house. There we go. So first of all, thank you so much for joining this very thought-provoking discussion on democratizing community and inclusivity. We're going to explore innovative ways to create a more inclusive and accessible digital spaces. We have some really distinguished panelists here. They're bringing a diverse range of experience from the realms of Metaverse, digital transformation, ethical AI, and they're going to share their unique perspectives on shaping the future of technology for the betterment of society. I'm Jamie Beakoff-Brett. I'm a digital innovation specialist, Metaverse architect, and I'll be moderating this panel. I'm going to do a quick introduction of our panelists, and then we're going to jump straight in because I want to give you as much time as possible with these fantastic people. So, Costa, you're going to have to correct me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but Constantino is a visionary top 50 Metaverse thought leader globally, blending storytelling and futurism with technology to create an inclusive virtual world, fostering sustainability and diversity. We have Micheleldi, celebrated Metaverse Chief Technology Strategist and 3D Design Manager at Telefonica, also renowned for his creative direction in virtual environments and contributing to digital identity and interoperability. And finally, but definitely not least, Akina Ho, who is a dynamic force in digital transformation and co-founder of the All-Star Women's DAO, a trailblazer in Web3 spaces. She really kind of embodies that innovative and inclusive spirit in tech. So that's enough from me. As I said, I'm so excited for this. I want to be able to talk to these panelists about the fantastic work that they're doing. So my first question is, in your respective fields, from metaverse development to AI and digital transformation, what strategies do you find most effective in creating inclusive digital communities? And how do you balance that rapid pace of technological innovation with the need to ensure accessibility and inclusivity for a diverse user base? Let's start with Akina.
Wow, that's a very, very complex question. Depends on who are you introducing this technology to. So I'll just take from my own experience. I work for a real estate conglomerate. They own the Langham Hotel in commercials. They have malls and residential everywhere around the world. Very traditional, very old school. The average tenure people who works in that company lasts about 20, 30 years, right? So I'm providing the real world, what it is. In general, that's what the Web2 world is like. For them, technology is something, because I'm using it as an example because we're based in Hong Kong. They speak Cantonese in general. Suddenly you tell them that, you learn French. They're like, what? Or Russian or whatever it is, a foreign language. They think that you're crazy. So I remember in 2018, I introduced generative AI. That's really, really new to the board, all the C-level executives, and then across the whole conglomerate. And then a lot of people told me, oh, there's no way computer can create faces, right? There's no way they can make music. There's no way they can read content and write summary. And then there's no way they can respond to questions as what ChatGPT is doing. And then how did I make sure that everybody came in the board? I basically told them that. Actually, I went to HR first because HR is required to do continuous learning. So she came to me and said, hey, Akina, what can you do to educate us innovation and tech? I said, great, wonderful. There's something I want to teach them. But that time, generative AI was a term you don't use often. So you just kill the generative part and just say AI, right? Because it was that prominent. And then kind of made it a curriculum to force everyone to join at the board level, at the C level, and one layer down. So I've educated about like close to 60 different people at that level in the span of 1 year. We have courses, right? And they were playing with the AI tools to create things. They were talking to AI and guessing games. So the reaction, my boss was the chairman's son, thought that people would be very angry, that people would be very skeptical. But what I did was I create a simulation where tables of executives sits together. They actually list down problems they have without telling them that we're going to be learning AI soon. And then they learn all the different technology about AI. And they're like, oh, then I switch them to another different table, like move around. So they're solving other people's problems and they don't know who said what with the technology they just learned. And then that's how you bring people in with very traditional mindset, very defensive attitude, is solving problems, not their problem, but other people's problem, right? And learning things, and then it was fun, right? So that's one way. I think what's really helpful to bring diversity inclusion to people who are against new tech.
Perfect. That is really interesting. There's a couple of points there I think around, you know, when we look at our AI evolution, we don't really think of things in the past as being AI, because as soon as they're so good and we just go, oh, well, that doesn't really relate to it anymore. Chess is always a great example. I put this in the chat. You know, that our chess systems on treadmills will beat a chess master. We don't think of it as AI, but it's such a commonplace now. I think that ties in nicely to that evolution that we've had. Constantino, and do correct me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I'm trying my best. Dyslexia and names that are not English is not my forte. So I would, love to hear from you on this.
Yeah, it's Costantino, it's easy. No worries. Okay, I'm working on a project that is a metaverse space, and we call it Netizens World. And we started by exclude. Speaking about inclusivity, we exclude something. We exclude current generation. What that means? That means we believe that the metaverse is not a toy for the current culture, because the metaverse is the culture that we want to move there instead of the industrial culture that we have right now. So we build a world that if we change something, then everything else will be non-functional and everybody will start protesting. They say, okay, let's go back on that. So what we did is said, okay, everything we know, if we want to build a future, it shouldn't work in the future. So we need to build something different. So what we did actually is that in that metaverse world, it belongs to avatars and not to people. So we use avatar economy, which means that we create things for avatars, not for people. And because we have people behind of avatars, then we create, we deliver products and services for the needs of avatars and emotions to the people that they are behind of avatars. And that's the big thing, that in order to create emotions, you need to create stories. So we concentrate on stories instead of marketing strategies. That means that we tear down the bridge that we connect the audience with the brands. We tear down the bridge. We don't need the communication bridge because we bring the brand inside of the audience. So we meet the communities by communicate direct to the tribes of its community. And we allow the community, by building just the frame of the world, we allow the community to build what they want inside, not only to have the ability of vote or take decisions or perks or benefits, but also to decide what happened next in the game, in the metaverse, in the works, in their business, how you want to build it. And in order to do that, we started a big, let's say, research before the beta version. And this is a huge project because we collaborate with international schools, universities, sociologists, and psychologists in order to build that, because we speak about Generation Z and Generation Alpha. This is our audience.
Right. Thank you so much. There was a really interesting part of that, and it just reminded me of the Marty McFly quote at the end of Back to the Future. He's like, you guys might not be ready for this, but your kids are going to love it. And when you kind of talk about that development, I thought, yeah, definitely had that relation.
Exactly.
Michael D, can I get your insights on this as well, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, what Constantino has said is really interesting. It's about that when you enter a metaverse space, you enter with your avatar. That is your virtual representation. And forgetting that inclusivity in that virtual representation of yourself, that is how you are showing yourself to other people inside that environment. It's really important to be able to be whoever you want to be. What I mean with this, Okay, there are many metaverse platforms, from Metaverse on Worlds, Microsoft Mesh, Spatial. There's like Fortnite, that although they are gaming, it's also a metaverse platform. And as Constantino has said, it's mainly these platforms are user-generated content. That is what the users are building in the metaverse. The metaverse will not be built by a company, will be made by the user creating all the experiences. He has tell a little bit about storytelling, but I want to go a step further about story living. It's how you are living the story because you are creating and experiencing it. Just a little bit, point a little bit different. And of course, talking also about, still we have a little problem with that inclusivity and that thing that is interoperability. Okay, I can enter a virtual world with my avatar, but when I enter another one, I have to create a new avatar. So that is something crazy. It's like going to different web pages and having to create your username in every web page. So what do we need to create is that avatar interoperability, that it can be done with many ways. Right now, there is, for example, Ready Player Me or Union Avatars, that are some avatar creator systems that can be used in many virtual worlds. But I will also go in here a step further, because in the end, you are just having your avatar in these avatar systems. Maybe we will need to translate, thanks to the AI, of course, that all the aspect, all your lookings, all your digital clothings, or everything translate into metadata that can be retranslated or read inside any virtual world. I mean, if you translate your avatar, in the end, yeah, it's a 3D file format, but a 3D file format is just metadata. It's just some coding. So you can convert all the 3D models into metadata, and that metadata can reconvert it according to the creative expression of the virtual world you are entering. You will be still yourself, but according to that that creativity you want to make in that virtual world. I think that interoperability is a key to get the real inclusivity for everyone as an avatar in the metaverse.
Perfect. Really enjoyed those answers, and that idea of exploring digital identities through avatars as well. Lots of people do experiment with what it means to take on a new identity by avatar design and stuff like that. So it's fantastic points. I'm going to also request that we're going to keep the answers for moving forward, because there's a few questions we want to get through, and we've got 10 minutes. That I'm going to say, keep your answers to 90 seconds, 2 minutes moving forward for everyone. And I'm also going to start with you, Michael, because you went last time, so you're going first this time. So what are the main challenges that you've encountered in your efforts to democratize access to technologies you work with, such as Metaverse, blockchain, and AI? And if you can give any specific instances or a real use case, then that would be fantastic.
Yes, we have found a big barrier, that is the devices. I mean, devices are like Apple Vision Pro, very expensive, and those devices don't have the power, the same power as in a laptop, in a gaming computer, on a mobile device. So an important point in here to avoid that is using a technique that is called pixel streaming, cloud rendering, or rendering in the edge. That what does it mean? That you can create a virtual world as huge as you want, so the realism that you want, it's just rendered in the server, and it's given to you in streaming. So with just a 300 euros laptop, you can enter an incredible virtual world. This is some use cases we are showing in the Mobile World Congress next week in Barcelona. One use case is this edge computing, pixel rendering, and streaming the content just rendered to your computer, PC, or laptop or mobile device.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Akina, same question, please. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Hold on,
We're gonna
sorry.
at least 3 times. That's it. That's it. It has to be done.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, no problem. I think most important thing when you onboard a bunch of people onto a new technology platform, you have to understand that majority of people don't want to learn new stuff. So you have to give them a hand-on onboarding experience. It's almost like a dedicated IT person to get someone into the system. And then from a strategic perspective, you get the first person needs to go in is the people who needs to approve things in the process. So the people who needs things to be approved will have to use the system because the approver is on the system. So if you don't do that, your project will most likely fail. So to ensure that that's successful in democratizing the usage of the system, put I call them the gatekeeper of any process, put them first in the system, make them use it, make them comfortable, and show them how simple it is to click on something, to approve something, or review something, then everybody under them will have to do it.
I did exactly the same thing. Yeah, and I tell you, you got to do at least 3 panels, 3 times every panel. Costantino, let me hand it over to you as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The first thing that we face as a problem is that the people doesn't understand how the whole thing of the metaverse is working because of the cloud that the whole media came with stupid definitions like that the metaverse is just a marketing tool to do your job. Whereas the metaverse is a revolution, is an idea, is something that can lead us to something different and lead to human evolution. But nobody sees like that. So as always, everybody wants to take something innovative and put it as a tool to sell same crap with a different wrap. But people right now are not stupid anymore. So this is a huge evolution. So I give up the whole thing and I say, okay, guys, it's not about technology. It's about the behavior of the people. It's about the need of the people to change something. So instead of give them direct to the technology of blockchain and demand for people to be already scientists in all of those things that they are in front of them, then what we did, we built a system with subscriptions and we say the first subscription is free. So you can go inside with a basic package, just giving your email and be inside and start educate yourself, communicate with people that they have better subscription of you because better in quotes, because they have wallets, they have all those things, and learn with them because we are belong on the same community. Instead of exclude them because they don't have the access of blockchain or whatever, they are inside of the system and they learn the benefits and they can say, oh no, it's not for me, or they said, it's for me. The first thing is that. The second, what we did is that we built an ambassadors that the next months will be live, those ambassadors in avatars, NPC, real AI avatars, we call them. They will be out there in social media also, and they become ambassadors of this world that we built. And those ambassadors communicate with people, and you don't understand that they are just ambassadors because they are avatars like you and me inside of the world. And they are friends of you, and they try to give you solutions, involve you on the community, and give you all the information that you need because they act like as a human. So if you go inside and you say, for example, I would like to know something about fashion, and the avatar is there, they can say, oh, my friend Tom knows something about fashion, is very good on that. And Tom is another avatar with the same software behind of that. And Tom came as a friend. It's very human friendly, the environment. So it's about education and learning with a fun part. And at the same time, those people, they have the ability to create
I'm going to move this on now just because we've got a short amount of time left.
Okay.
And I want to get to the last bit. Really good answer. Thank you very much. And what I'm going to do is just final thoughts. We've got 2 minutes left. What I'd like is just a 20-second answer on what emerging trends or technologies do you believe hold the most promise for democratizing community and inclusivity? Less than 20 seconds and answer, people. And I'm going to go reverse order. So Costantino, Akina, and then Micheladi.
20 seconds to say what? No, you're mute, Jamie.
I told you it's going to happen 3 times. So final thoughts were, what are the emerging trends or technologies do you believe hold the most promise for further democratizing community and inclusivity?
Blockchain, really. No need 20 seconds to say that.
That's perfect. Like it. That's Keena, you're next.
Generative AI.
Love it. Mika Ali.
Well, also I agree with them. I will also add the user-generated content.
Everyone, thank you so much for your contributions, your insights, your knowledge, and for sharing it so freely with us. I've been blown away by what people have said. I thought it was really interesting to just look at the different scopes that we've had of different lenses to look through, and also just the diversity of these technologies working together in this digital convergence. So just wanted to once again thank you all for your time, energy, and effort, and look forward to connecting with you all very soon. I'm going to hand back to Sharad, and then we will take it from there. But thank you once again, panelists.
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We're going to jump right into Dr. Jane Thompson. Not much I can do in a short time or a long time to express my admiration for her and for the work she's doing. So I will hand it off to you, Dr. Jane. You have 20 minutes, and I will be back to see you then.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, hi everyone. It's been so great to just listen to the presentations today. I was on a long distance flight yesterday, so I couldn't watch anything yesterday. But, you know, thanks, Sharad, for organizing this, and all the speakers for your great thoughts and, you know, traversing so many different aspects of Metaverse, from spirituality, education, healthcare, building communities, and Web3. So I'm probably going to take a slightly different tenor to this and sort of step up to some of the big picture thoughts that I've been having about the Metaverse and what's going on. So let me share this with you, and it's only intended to be thought-provoking. I hope you find it interesting, and it's certainly some of the things that, you know, I've been thinking about. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is some of the trends that are going on that are going to shape the way that this future happens. So, you know, the one, and I've heard people talking about data, is the datafication of everything. Humans are being datafied, digitized, and everyone knows that data is going to be the most valuable commodity. The second one is dematerialization, and this is really a term, and particularly with the newer generations, they're not so keen on owning stuff in the way that my generation was. They're quite happy to receive a service. They don't have to own it. So, you know, Airbnb and Uber, these are examples of what's going on in the future generations. The third one is platformization, and I haven't really heard people talk about this, but I think this is going to be one of the most powerful trends. And this is where and how many of our communities and networks are going to be found. So the number of people that you have in your network is the power of your network. And then the final one, and we have heard some of that, is this idea of social and resource value, that people, particularly the younger generations, are concerned about the planet and about people and preserving what we have in ways that we haven't really seen before. And just onto that, it's hello Gen Alpha. This is our future consumer for all of the things that we're doing. And they really are the most technologically advanced generation. They've grown up with screens in front of their faces, used to artificial intelligence, augmented reality, gaming. And so they are going to be the ones who drive how we live, learn, socialize, and spend money. And they're going to expect this combination of virtual and physical worlds and in all of their products and services. So they'll be driving these markets. Now, we have heard quite a bit of conversation around Web3. So it's always hard to be last because you don't know what anyone else has done. So I'm going to move through fairly fast. But one of the things that I think is so important to emphasize is that not every metaverse is going to be Web3. And I think people like me and many of you are quite passionate about Web3 and democratizing access and so forth. But we also have to face up to the fact that there are many people who are building metaverses, metaverse-like experiences, who have no interest in democratizing anything. So I'm just going to quickly whip through, because this has been quite adequately covered by previous speakers. You know, a Web3 metaverse is going to be underpinned by blockchain, digital assets, decentralized finance, DAOs, and NFTs are going to be critical to digital ownership and digital identity in the future. So this whole meta economy that underpins the Web3 metaverse is going to be different. And the question that I'm asking here and posing is, who's going to be banking the next generation so that people, or underpinning it so that people can create and exist in these virtual economies and trade virtual goods and services and so forth? And who's going to bridge the gap between the virtual and the real economies? We already have organizations like Zelf, the Bank of the Metaverse, which offers regulated services for transferring money between virtual worlds and the real worlds and trading valuable in-game items between players. So up until now, you know, the big players have been the big tech, and we've seen nothing but increasing interest and growth, and all of them are looking for where their opportunities are. So we're seeing an increasing interest in gaming, and I'll come to gaming in a minute. And I actually think that gaming is probably one area where we're going to see the most rapid uptake of the Web3 metaverse and the movement of in-game assets. They're also expanding outside of their core products. Meta, for example, is trying to bring in semiconductor development in-house, and they're trying to double down on their competitive advantages. And of course, their competitive advantage is they have these huge communities that they already know a lot about. So they have a way of engaging with people and offering them experiences that is really very significant. So they're all working really hard at this, but they are not going to be developing Web3 metaverses. So let's not kid ourselves about that. The other group that are incredibly important, as far as I'm concerned, is the gaming community, because they've got this huge economy already. They've got over 3 billion users. They already have many, if not all, of the potential pieces that are going to be needed for Web3 metaverses, and they deploy already assets within games. And I think that as the gaming community learn about Web3 and understand how it can help them, this is going to be a very quick and easy way for people to be moving into Web3 metaverses. The challenge, and many of you probably know this, is there's a bit of a reaction between the Web2 gaming community and the Web3 gaming community, because they think to some extent the Web3 community are just coming in to eat their lunch and kind of, you know, really get access to their members and not really offer value. And secondly, Web3 games up until now, and I think we're going to see that change, are pretty boring. And so gamers want the exciting game experience. They don't want the boring one, which is where you see the play to earn. So we're going to see developments in that, and gaming, in my view, is going to be a very important vector for adoption. But I want to talk to you a little bit about telcos, and I don't know how much people have been thinking about telcos, but one of the things that I think about a lot is, you know, all of the stuff we've been talking about is super exciting, and we can pop on our Oculus goggles or whatever kind of device. But the reality is that is not going to give access to the majority of people on the planet to the incredible opportunities that the metaverse has. It's too costly. The user experience isn't that great. And, you know, if we're going to reach people on the planet who really need these experiences, then we're going to have to find other ways. And I personally believe that augmented reality type experiences and immersive experiences provided through mobile phones and tablets is going to be the biggest potential uptake. of metaverse-like experiences that we're going to see. And if you just look at the numbers, you know, we've got nearly 60% of the global population do have access to mobile technology. And so if you go with my hypothesis, then you have to start thinking about what the role of telcos is, because they have this huge customer base of 60% of the global population, and they're already, you know, generating recurring revenues. And then you start thinking about, okay, you know, how can this happen and what can they do? And I see incredible opportunities, and we're already starting to see the telcos seeing that they've got this infrastructure. They can build new business models to capture downstream value through participation in the metaverse as a single point of service. They can curate, bundle, and distribute a dynamic ecosystem of Web3 apps, content, and experiences, and facilitate the seamless interaction of physical and digital tomorrow for the metaverse. They've kind of got the underpinning that's going to be needed. So if they want, and I believe they will, and we're starting to see that they can actually really leverage the opportunities of the decentralized ecosystem, provide that connectivity that we need for the decentralized world, run and monetize the infrastructure associated with decentralized networks, sponsor, operate, and even act as custodians of blockchain infrastructure serving the Web3 ecosystem, and start to think about developing infrastructure as a service for Web3, like AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure have done in Web2, and creating blockchain as service providers, so allowing companies to integrate blockchain services into their own Web3 strategies. They have the potential to be able to power the connectivity that we need for these big decentralized communities, providing reliable high-performance infrastructure capable of enabling low-latency connectivity. They can build and operate the foundational layer of fiber, 5G and 6G that allows this pervasive connectivity that we need. They can look at creating these interoperable networks, leveraging Wi-Fi and satellite and networks run by competitors. And this decentralization of networks can generate benefits for the telcos, including complementary coverage and additional redundancy in coverage. So they have the capacity to build this next level connectivity, the cloud-based software-defined network and edge computing capabilities to provide and monetize the low latency experiences that are in demand from enterprises, consumers, cloud service providers, and to create the next stage of the cloud infrastructure market. And they're going to be able to provide connectivity as a platform. So platform capabilities that allow users and digital assets to move across any type of network, and fit for purpose, frictionless, multi-network connectivity in an algorithmic, secure and trust-based way as a platform play. So I want to hypothesize to you, and many of you may have used, sort of stepping away from the detail of the amazing services and value that Metaverse can provide to the human race, who is going to be underpinning all of this so that we can make it happen. And I'm increasingly of the view that telcos have the opportunity and the potential to dominate by providing that powerful connectivity and edge computing. They could position themselves as co-creators of the metaverse alongside the big techs and the game developers. So AI, Web3 and the metaverse is going to be the business of the future. And my hypothesis to you in this short presentation is that we need to start looking seriously at telcos and thinking about how they're going to not only be partners, but potentially be dominators of the metaverse of the future. So thanks very much, everyone. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here in Australia. I hope I've been coherent, and it's such a pleasure to join this great community. And thanks, John Cohen and Sharad, for organising it.
Thanks so much, Jane. And again, thanks so much, especially at 3 a.m. So we wish you a lovely sleep, and we'll catch you very soon. Thank you so much for your presentation. as always, Jane.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So we're going to go now to Miriam. I know that we had some technical challenges earlier.
Thank you so much. You
Look
can hear
forward
me,
to your
yes?
presentation. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
And
excellent. Very much appreciate the intro, John. I also would like to thank Sharad, Susan, everybody for organizing such a brilliant summit. It's an honor to be joining you here today. I have a lot of passion for this topic because I think this is precisely as Jane and others mentioned, this is the future of where we're headed. So welcome to Quantum Multiverse Realities, Art and Math-Based Gaming Education for Business Applications. This is part of a full day session that I offer to organizations. I'm condensing it now into a very short iteration where we're going to be talking about imaginal spectra and line of sight. We'll set the stage and then talk about the focus of art and math-based, moving into quantum multiverses. I am the founder and CEO of HoloArt, working with top artists, scientists, and technologists from around the world. I'm also a consultant in digital transformation and technological innovation. My focus is change management and human behavior change at scale. As well, I'm an artist with digital, physical, and phygital concepts. I'm also the president of the AR/VR Association. We work in space community, mindfulness practitioner, certified change management practitioner with experience in healthcare, education, and governance. I also present on Web3, DeFi, Metaverse, and human adoption of technology, having presented to Microsoft developers, DevSecOps, and IT divisions. So what we're doing in HoloArt is elevating consciousness at scale, and I'll share why this is relevant to the topic at hand. We have been called a solution for humanity by the head of innovation at CERN, and our ethos is focused on art, philosophy, science, and tech. So I was delighted to hear the dialogue between Sharad and spirituality, because I think this is where we need to focus our moral compass for the purpose, vision, and heart-based elevation of consciousness. A few things we've done in 14 short months: sent art to space, had a talk about the James Webb Telescope with NASA, and a few other things. The focus of today's topic is play. Why do we play? The purpose for us is stimulation, entertainment, part of learning. It also creates a bit of an addiction. Animals do it, and it's been around since time immemorial. The interesting fact for us here is that AI can do it too, and it has an impact on our well-being, our social psychology, with tech acting really as a referee. The games we play are defined by, we spoke about this earlier in the summit, the species. You know, animals, children, we have familial games, romantic games, corporate games, technological and political. Here's where game theory comes in and why it's so interesting to look at Watson, Go, large language learning models, and how culture is shaped through the games that we play, because it terraforms the mind. There's a military, leisure, athletic, cerebral, social connection, and all of this terraforms our society. Part of this presentation was presented a few years ago, and I'd like to do a quick review to set the context, because really what we're doing is shaping social credit scores and redefining the landscape of learning and development, corporate compliance, law enforcement, and moving from single player to multiplayer modalities, and from a competitive ethos to a collaborative ethos. If you're not familiar with Nash equilibrium, the outcomes, this is math-based Texas Hold'em poker, is dual possibilities, looking at this shift toward lifelong learning, away from an us and them duality and this paradox of random winning. So the dual outcomes are win-lose, lose-win, or win-win. And then there's the axiom of, does the house always win? And if so, in this changing landscape, whose house always wins? These are quick slides from the previous presentation just to show you the neuroscientific and mathematical applications of pro-social groups and selfish groups at the individual and collective level. The evolution of values over time, coupled with limited resources, change the rules of our game. There's also data-driven designs. We've had a number of speakers speak about this. These peepholes are really driving our privacy. So data sovereignty and the right to be forgotten, especially for younger generations, is top of mind for many, many corporations, and we'll get to the liability issues. We also talk about the gaming of social currency. Amazon has now introduced a tier of influencers, and this influencer culture is tapping into the military, learning and development, education, and esports. You can see that there's a lot of applications for education and business, and when we think about tech access, we're really introducing a new subspecies. The market is enormous. Each generation has a different relationship with technology. So when we look at the maturists to Generation Z and now digital natives, we see that there's a different way of interacting and engaging in play. This has to be factored into business applications, looking at cross-cultural and multi-generational gaming. These art and math-based educational games take the best of art philosophy, the best of math philosophy, and the best of educational philosophy for exponential innovation across disciplines. The role of art in game theory is to connect, emote, motivate, envision, espouse, and aspire. The role of science and math is to have predictable input-output outcomes. We look at pattern anomalies, stimulating, grounding, and evidence and facts-based rewards. These measurements are empirical, materialist, and create new experiences. When we get into the quantum multiverse realities, we're really talking about the philosophy of personal tech bubbles and creating multiverse reality bubbles. I'm not sure how many people are aware of the quantum concepts around multi-worlds and multiverse. When we think about the future of jobs, digital natives, gaming in the classroom, internet use, digital content, and this shift from Newtonian to quantum paradigms, we see the work of Niels Bohr, Hugh Everett, Pete Bohm, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Hilbert, Pauli, the list goes on. And this shifting landscape leads us to co-evolutions and co-adaptations. We're translating a medium. We're scribes and visionaries, storytelling, co-authoring, and creating new experiences. Earlier today, there was a mention of the Matrix. The original Matrix was based on The Machine Stops. That's a book. And in a recent Deloitte Luxembourg Art and Finance report, we spoke about envisioning. And the cool thing is that Sharad's dialogue today around spirituality is precisely what this is, because indeed it is based on millennia-long ancient wisdom. And that exercise that he so brilliantly facilitated with the closing of the eyes, that in and of itself is the future of our experiences in the metaverse. We also look at evolutionary biology, how different groups work together or compete with each other in a hyper advanced technological context with underdeveloped emotional literacy and arrested development in ethics. So I call this a post-Renaissance enlightenment of the Bronze Age of technology. There's a great film about this, a sci-fi short. I believe Dr. Martha Buchenfeld has taken a look at it, and I recommend that you take a look at it as well. It's 15 minutes, it's on YouTube, and it maps out how we've been gamified. So when we think about this adaptive coevolution, we need to think about the personal, the social, and the community transformation as we go into a multidimensional, multimodal, multisensorial, multi-perceptions. We're bringing all of these technologies together, integrated in next level sensorial integration of VR, AR, MR, haptics, biotech, neurotech, fully immersive. And so in a way, we are stewards of the quantum multiverse. We need to be aware of the manipulation, the control, the behavioral modification, the medical links to mental health, and in future years, losing touch with reality and nature, the social isolation and reality bubbles. In the UK, there's a Ministry of Loneliness, and that is looking at how rerouting the games are played, conceived, and rewarded. A place where we're terraforming the heart and mind. So for business applications, we can look at gaming to acquire new customers, retain previous customers, augment our market share, and then look at liability, branding, and reputation. McDonald's has a monopoly game. There were issues about the ethics and trust, and so that impacted their reputation. There's also a concern about all of the data that's collected. And so these are things that businesses have to think about when they enter the gaming world and looking at what are the games your competitors are playing? Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, completely different game, Branson, than small, medium enterprises, to the Fortune 10, to the Fortune 100, to governments. Everybody's playing a different game. So rewriting the rules of the game based on your ethos brings us to this ethical gaming and philosophies of morality. Looking at the Pavlovian aspect of being programmed to seek rewards. And this brings us to our understanding of targeted marketing profiles, the innovation behind the data, and then keeping in touch with the next generation. The games children play now, our future clients, completely different than the games their parents played. And in this gamified infrastructure, we're using gaming as a Trojan horse for data brokerage. This is called the Imperator. Imagine, of the 5 reviews on Amazon, this is sold for about 5,000 US. Most of the reviews asked for a built-in toilet. And the reason why I show this is because think about where we end up when people are so fully immersed that they don't even want to leave the space. So there's a balance in this gaming ethos as we build digital armies and communities of groupthink. And when we think about the business applications, we're looking at employee training and development, market research and consumer engagement, educational tools and learning platforms, brand building and storytelling, data visualization and analysis, and collaborative problem solving. So our key takeaways from today is to look at how gaming can help us acquire new customers, maintain old customers, and augment our market share. The impacts and entry points, the way the games are designed, and when I spoke about the developer community that I work with, we're really talking about shaping the future of humanity's ability to reason, to work with logic, creativity, access to digital technologies, literacy in the digital landscape, fluency, and then the incentives and motivations that lead to behavior modification. In the luxury sector where we're operating, the next level gamification is piercing through the attention economy with the creative economy and basing it on trust and value propositions that are ethically sound, with this code of if you surround yourself with love and the right people, anything is possible. And in the gaming industry, when we think about art and math-based gaming for education, we're really seeing elevating artists and scientists as guides and visionaries, including children, Indigenous peoples, and AI in the creation of games. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or via email. And thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Thanks for your flexibility as well today. Really appreciate it. I'll invite Sharad and Andrea and Susan back on screen if you can. Be great.
Yes, we are
what a
right.
day, what a night,
We
what
are
an
right here.
overnight, depending on their time zones.
Went into Cinderella, right?
Can I
I know
also,
several of you are looking forward to sleep soon or already sleeping.
yeah, John Scott, if you don't mind, can we invite all the other panelists who are in the room to come on with their camera?
Yeah, for sure. Everyone, if you can turn your cameras on, those that are here.
Yeah.
Miriam.
Hey.
Ben.
Hey, hi. Good to see you
Radhika.
guys again.
Great.
Yeah,
Radhika's
super. So,
early in San Francisco. We have Dr. Jane at 3 a.m. in Australia. We have everyone in between. I know Andrea is getting close to what, 1 a.m., 12:30?
Yes, soon.
It's been a great day. I'll leave it to Sharad for final words or
been great 2 days actually. There's so much content we have created. It's amazing. Of course, a video recording will be put out for each day on onlywebinars.com. So a few significant things. I mean, this is the first time we attempted a 2-day summit, and I think we pulled it off rather well. We had 41 plus speakers from 5 continents. We had more than 1,000 people who registered to attend this summit. And I think we appropriately called it Meta Shapers Global Summit. And that kind of is the ethos of Meta Shapers. We celebrate inclusivity, we celebrate diversity, and we are growing this community slowly and steadily of like-minded people who all believe in giving back to community. And I think that's what gets us to stick together and co-create content in this new creator economy. So we are all Web3 in more ways than one. We have a lot of work to do in terms of educating people at large. I think we've only just got started, and no technology can, achieve mass adoption without taking all the people along with us. And I think I say this, and all of you are in agreement with that it's still early days. Even whether it is Metaverse, AI, all of them will have their time. I think I've overspoken. I think what will be right is everybody in the room goes around and pipes in for 1 minute, because we want everybody to go to Metaverse now, because she's waiting for us in the Metaverse to welcome us. So in whichever order, back to you, John Scott.
Great. I'll try to sum it up even more quickly. I'll ask everyone for a word or phrase that they want to take away from the past 2 days, and then we'll go into we'll join Martha in the Marthaverse. So I'll give it to Andrea first and Susan.
I would choose bridge and humanity.
Great. Susan?
Communityship.
Akina? Your mic's off.
Today's game for Akina.
Continuous learning, always.
Rahita?
So that's me, Radhika.
Sorry.
I'd say, humanity.
Yeah.
Miriam?
Enlightened entanglement.
Wow.
Dr. Surin?
Yeah, I think insightful and innovative, just 2 keywords there.
Dr. Okan?
Actually, the output worth the efforts which lasted months. Thank you very much for everything.
Great. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate everyone's participation. Again, thanks to Sharad, Susan, Andrea, and everyone who participated and attended. And we will see you in what's next.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And be good. And being human was my takeaway, by the way. All right.
Oh, yes, we forgot to ask you.
Thanks, Sharad.
All right. Bye. See you on the other
everybody.
side. Bye.
Thank you,
audience.
Meta Shapers. Thank you, guests. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Enjoy the Metaverse.
Yes, please head out to Metaverse. She's waiting for us.
It's